right? And with folks like us that's out there monitoring and documenting, doing street watch, community watch, it's important that we stand on cue with what's going on. We on point, and we making the necessary. We're doing the necessary work that's going to produce the necessary changes. And sometimes that means regrouping, coming back, checking our fronts, see if we all on the same page together, see if we working in stride with the legal strategy, see if we working in stride with the organizing strategy, because that's what it's all about. It's all about making change, and we're gonna make change through the law, changing policy, and we're gonna also take the streets by building power. So that's why it's important for us to, have these organizational and these group check-in meetings, so we can just make sure that moving forward, that everybody is saying the same thing. We all on the same page together. We're all in the same fight together, right? And so, because I believe that everybody that's a part of Street Watch, everybody that's on Community Watch, has the good in our heart. We out here doing the right thing. We just got to make sure that we're just not out here playing savior. You know what I mean? We out here really just doing what it's going to take to make changes. And sometimes that means coming, having a check-in and regrouping, you know what I'm saying, and testing the waters and see what we're working with. So with that said, I just want to say just a little bit about how we all got started here with LACAN. LACAN, I came to LACAN in 2005 as a complainant to basically file a complaint. I was born and raised downtown, and I was living on Main Street. And I was just now getting out of prison. And a lot of people don't look surprised, because a lot of people is living in a prison right now today, physically and mentally, in your own mind and your own community. And so, but nevertheless, I was getting out of prison. I had done 11 years in state prison. When I was in prison, I had basically re-educated myself, and I was a jailhouse lawyer when I was in prison. And basically, I used to walk around the prison yard with my clipboard, and I used to document human and civil rights violations that was in prison. And I used to write complaints and stuff like that in prison while I was in prison. I won a couple of complaints that where the prisoners nicknamed me the General, right? And I kind of kept that name. So when I got out of prison, I came back down to Skid Row, and it had changed greatly, because I had came back right smack in the middle of gentrification around 2004, when the city was primarily just a dog rush to gentrify downtown. And where I was living at, they had these business improvement security guards, and they was just telling people, you can't be here, you can't be there, you gotta move here, you gotta move there. And I was fed up with them. And so somebody told me, man, you ought to go to LACAN, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, who the hell is LACAN? Like, I've been gone 11 years. It was like, oh, it's this group of crazy people that's always running back and forth from City Hall with the police behind them. So I was like, sounds like my kind of damn people. All right. So I went down there, and we got to talking about the business improvement district, got talking about the community. I was telling them about how they was pushing people off, and how a lot of residents wasn't coming outside because they didn't want to be harassed and stuff like that. And so when we decided, he'd give me a camera to go out, and document what's going on, take some pictures and stuff. So I did that. We came back, we talked about it. So we decided to create a community watch team that's going to go out and monitor and document these business improvement guards. And so we went out to the law library. We found out, what rights we had, what as citizens, what rights that the security guards had as being security guards, right? So we found out a lot of information about these cats, right? That they wasn't supposed to be doing what they doing, right? So we got some other people that join us. We got some equipment. We started doing role plays in the office, and then we got some uniforms. And then when we was all set, this was us right here. This is a picture of our first community watch team right here. And that's Pete right there in the front. That's Blau, that's Peggy, that's Becky, that's Joe Thomas, and that's me right here on the corner right here. And so, and basically, we got a bullhorn, and we walked up to the Business Improvement District office, which is right here on 8th and Olive. We right smack during lunchtime, and we stuck a bullhorn through their window, and we told them, that from this day on, we're going to be watching you, and no longer are you going to be able to violate the human and civil rights of downtown residents, right? And so, so from that point right there, we started watching them. We started going to their board meetings. We filed a lawsuits on them. So after about a year, we had pretty much had them in a headlock. You know what I mean? When we would turn the corner, they would be jacking somebody, and they would see these green shirts. Here's the original Community Watch T-shirt right here that I wear. They would see us coming, and they would jump on their bicycles and just take off. You know, right? And we wouldn't chase them or nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want them to do. Take off, get out of here. All right, run out the community. And so that was the first thing that we did. We ended up running them out of the community. And so around 2006, we was going to the police commission meetings, and we was going to city council meetings and stuff like that, right? And so that's how we found out that the city was going to be bringing this a Safer Cities initiative to Skid Row in 2006. And so that's when we started really monitoring and documenting the LAPD. You know what I'm saying? But I just said all this to say that that's some of the history, you know what I'm saying, of LACAN, you know, why we got involved and how we got the Community Watch started. So we was involved in a lot of lawsuits from Jones versus the city of Los Angeles, to Fitzgerald, to Tony Levan. I personally recruited Tony Levan. He came up to me when he was getting his property had got ganked, and he personally walked up to me and told me that his property was just stolen. So we had brought him to the office and introduced him to Carol Sobel, and they ended up talking, and they ended up decided to file a complaint against the city. And so he became a plaintiff in Tony Levan versus the city of Los Angeles that eventually went all the way to the Supreme Court. The city appealed to deny the property rights for homeless people. But nevertheless, you know, I just wanted to just share that and just say that, you know, it's very important, you know, to create a community watch team, right? And so one of the reasons, you know, why it's important, you know, to create a community watch team, you know, is to take back our communities, right? And redefine them for us, you know, and not for the business improvement district and other people alike. And so I just wanted to just get that little history, right, about LACAN, because LACAN, basically, where we see ourselves fighting at right now, right, with Street Watch, you know, it's an extension of Community Watch. I'm also a member of Cop Watch LA. And so I was doing a cop watching, you know, out in South Central, and then downtown, I was doing Community Watch. And so we kind of like hooked both of them up together, you know what I'm saying? And so like I was saying, Street Watch and what we're doing right now is extension of the fight, right? And so with that said, I want to just, I created it for the purpose of this training. So we want to get on the same page together. So I know a lot of people got involved, you know, in the Street Watch, got involved in Community Watch at the last action, right? You got some people that got involved last year. You got some people that got involved a couple of years ago. So it's different levels and stages in which people got involved into the fight, right? And so for the purpose of, it's very important that we understand the origin, the history, right, of where we at, where we find ourselves at. And so I created this timeline. I created a timeline. You can see it behind me. It's the City of Los Angeles homeless criminalization timeline of events. And it's a chart that I laid out. It's 15 years of genocide, you know, that I call it. And so it's important, just like I was saying, for people to see the fight. So you can see exactly, you know, how everything got started. You will see exactly what the city interest is. And the reason why I created this is to, you know, just for this meeting, I created this timeline, right? So that I could show you, you know, that it is not the city's interest, right, to solve homelessness, right? It is not the city's interest, right, to invest in houses, you know, invest in poor people, right? And I'm gonna show you that through this timeline. So if you can join me from 2005 right here. So when we look, so 2005. So for me, I got involved, you know, came to LACAN in 2004. Around 2005, right smack in the middle of the work, the city was hearing a case in City Hall, and it was Jones versus the city of Los Angeles. I mean, I was a rookie in this. I was the first year, and I'll never forget going to the city council meeting and it was us on one side of the room, and it was the business people on the other side of the room. And the city had a vote. It was a serious vote. It was a vote to see if they were going to allow people to sleep on the streets of Los Angeles from 9 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. So you had the business people that was shouting out incentives. I ain't never heard people talk like that. They talked about how they couldn't believe that the city was going to allow people to lay in filth on the streets and sleep out on the streets and just take public sidewalk away from good folks and good kind of people. Where are we supposed to walk at? And then we had the other side, our side. When we was telling our story, we was like, okay, well, we just proved that all the missions were full, all the shelters was full, even all the drug programs was full. Now the drug programs, they got housing, but they wasn't built they housing to just house people to be housing people. They built their housing for people that has drug problems, right? But even the drug programs was full. We showed that there was no place for people to go, nowhere. People had no other choice but to pitch a tent, right? And so the city had a choice to make, right? So they did the right thing. They voted and they approved for people to sleep on the streets, right? But at that point, it was a very decisive point in the homeless crisis in the city of Los Angeles. Because one, if I'm a city council member or the mayor, it showed me that, hey, we had to vote to allow people to sleep on the streets. Why? Because there is no house. There is nothing for people, right? So if I'm a council member, I'm gonna say, okay, well, I need to start investing in housing right now. Right? This is the time, to start investing, right? But did they do that? Hell no. Just months later, a city chose to invest in criminalization. In 2006, just months later, right? They was working out of the broken windows theory of police, right? And so basically they launched this initiative, policing initiative called the Safer Cities Initiative on Skid Row. And in 2006, that brought 110 extra, I'm gonna say that again, 110 extra police to Skid Row, making Skid Row the most police community in America and second in the world to Baghdad. Only reason why Baghdad had more cops than us in the streets, that actually was an actual coup that was going on or something like that in Baghdad, right? And so, anyway, for the next 10 years, right, the city of Los Angeles would forward march to go to criminalize people under the Safer Cities Initiative. So this is a timeline. So let me just go through a little stuff that they did during this timeline. Now, this timeline, let me say that I made this timeline off the top of my head, just coming up with the stuff that I know that happened that year. This timeline needs to be remade, and we can redo it with the city and the county, and we could go and really do some research and put in some other facts that happened during these years, right? But I just wanted to just show, for the sake of this training, that the city, been investing in criminalization that is not in them, right, to do the right thing. So 2006, 2005, they forced to approve Jones, right, and allow sleeping on and camping on the streets. Instead of investing, right now they sort of start doing the Triple H and start, investing in housing back in 2005, but they invested in criminalization. So just months later, they launched the Safer Cities Initiative, which brought 110 cops to Skid Row. City Council approved $100 million annual budget for SCI. So they was getting $100 million annually just to police Skid Row. And it was a 10-year initiative. So you're talking about $100 million annually in 10 years. You're talking about $1 billion that they spent right there in the lab from 2006 to 2016, just policing Skid Row. And the time they started in 2006, it was a little less than 150 tents on the street. Now it's over 5,000. So it proves and shows that criminalization don't work, because just when you thinking you done criminalized the last person on the block and arrested them, here come the first one getting out. So after 10 years, you just end up running a recycle system at a cost of $1 billion of taxpayers' money. Now, then on top of this, the city was also getting, like they always been getting in the last decade, 54% of the city's general fund budget on top of this, right? And then they was getting another 87% of the city's homeless budget, which was $100 million. So the police are just loaded down with all these resources to do what? We're gonna find out, right? So the SCI, the first, every month, starting off when they launched, right? The SCI cops was averaging over 1,000 tickets a month just within a 15-block area on Skid Row. Skid Row is a 50-block area, but the enforcement and where the tents are at is just like in a 15-block area. So you got 150 cops on top of all the regular cops on top of the police station. You know what I'm saying? That's doing donuts in this 15-block area. And this was the data showed that getting 110 cops was equivalent to adding like 750 cops to like a 77 division. All right. And so you can see the mass enforcement that inflow that's going to have on the community, right? SCI cops was averaging over 750 arrests per month. So Skid Row is a community anywhere from 13 to 15,000, people, and so like 5,000, about a third of that, what I'm saying, is homeless people, right? Also during this time, so the city attorney's office created a policy of denying access to drug treatment program. For people arrested in the SCI zone, that's when inside SCI on Skid Row, their arrest resulted in a 2 to 4 year prison sentence. So people arrested in the SCI zone was not given no plea deals when they go to court. They was just being straight railroaded to the penitentiary, right? And so also August 24th, Ernest Savage, he was an independent film director that I had the privilege of working with. He'd been making independent films for about 10 years before I had met him, and it was all about homeless people. That year, he released his dumping video where he caught LAPD. They had a truck, and they would go around and they would confiscate all this homeless people property on Skid Row, right? And then when they would drive the truck under the 6th Street Bridge to dump it, they would get on the microphone and they would play the theme song of Sanford and Son. For you that don't know, Sanford and Son is an old 70s show with a black father and son that was junk collectors. People, they probably could say that they was like homeless because they had all this stuff, right? And so so they would play that, and the homeless people would come out and they would have them unload the truck, right? And then they would let the homeless people keep the stuff. And then we showed that the police was paying the guys that unloaded the truck an unknown substance. We don't know what it was because we couldn't see it on camera. But you need to go see the film. But that was released. All right, 2007, Faye Nemeth, a black female, was given a Rodney King style beating by 4 cops right here on 6th and Gladys. The DIP task force, that's drinking in public, started arresting folks before Art Walk on Main Street and around about. So downtown created this Art Walk, right? And they would come around before Art Walk during the daytime, and they'd arrest all the people of color and homeless people for having a beard. And then hours later, they would open it up for Art Walk, and the yuppies would walk around with wine and all that stuff in their hands and cheese and shit, right? Fitzgerald was filed against the court, and they had got an injunction on LAPD. Fitzgerald was a case that was around it was around parole and probation, where the police had played and said, okay, everybody on Skid Row is criminals. They all either on parole or probation, right? And so they just start jumping out the car. Yeah, you on parole, get against the wall. And just illegally searching people, right? Just so that they can just get a search through your pocket. And so once again, this is about who can be in public space and who can't be in public space, right? And so also that same year, I made the front page cover of the Daily Journal, which is one of those business newspapers, and it talked about unequal and separate enforcement, right, of downtown, and how the yuppies are being, treated like given the red carpet, and other downtown residents are being criminalized and thrown in jail. And there was a big ass article about it, right? And so, and then also that was the same year that Russell Reynolds, this was a big case, a guy that lives across the street from Gladys Park on Skid Row, which is also a block away from the police station, was standing out in front of his house when the cops jumped out of a car and just like beat the hell out of him right in front of his house, and then dragged him across the street to the police station. 15 minutes later, they kicked him out, out of the police station and said, oh, we didn't know you lived in the community around the corner from us, right? And so nothing was never done about that, though, to show you how crazy the police was. 2008, the city aggressively started enforcing 4118D, racial profiling. Foster, another brother on St. Julian, the same street that Foster was on, was beat up, right? The police said that he was swallowing cocaine, but actually after they ran over there and choked him out and choked out what was in his mouth, it was nothing but sunflower seeds that he was spitting out, right? And so same year, unarmed homeless person was shot on 6th and Stanford. This was a lot of shootings, you know what I'm saying, during this time zone, and also a lot of raids. So from 2006 all the way to like 2012, it's just all like police and stuff, because it's like police and Skid Row on steroids, right? Because they trying to move people out for gentrification, right? And so also 2008 is the first day of Black History in February, and LAPD raided the SRO hotels on Skid Row. It was also the same year that UN Rapporteur on Racism visited Skid Row, and later writes a report condemning the city of the mistreatment of homeless folks, right? March 11th, Skid Row residents, we marched to the federal building, filed a federal complaint, right? Calling for the U.S. president and the U.S. Attorney General to investigate the Safer Cities Initiative, right? 2009, Fitzgerald, the settlement was reached, right? And which it was illegal. The court found it illegal, you know what I'm saying, what the police was doing, illegally stopping and searching people. You know, this is like the stop and frisk, you know, stuff on steroids, right? And then so after they, of course, after we win a lawsuit, the police always come out and intensify the harassment, intensify the enforcement. And so that's what it did. It was just like beefed up enforcement after that. LAPD intensified arrests. 2010 comes, right? So we had these community meetings that they used to have where the community can come and give their point of view about what's happening with the policing in our community, right? So we start coming in and talking about how the police is killing us and how they harassing us. They end up closing the meeting to us. They said we can't come back no more, right? But they allow for the businesses to still come to the meeting, right? Quarry versus the city is amended, right? This is another, so there's a lot of old cases, you know what I'm saying, that happened before 2005 that people need to research and look at, because you see that it's been a decade, you know what I'm saying, that the city just been criminalizing, you know, homelessness and shit, right? So this is another one of those cases, right? Also, the same year, the city attorney files a case on supposed to be 300 residents in Skid Row, just right in this little area right here, claiming that they all, you know, send me a drug dealer. He was like, man, are you serious? You know, there's another way for them to just justify just moving people out of the community. Tony LaVan case, understand me, is filed in an injunction, right? It's given to LAPD in the city for stop taking people's property, right? At the same year, the city occupies, just months later, the city raids Occupy and move people out. And the bids that same year start doing public safety walks. This is a flyer from 2007 public safety walk, right, that we had, because public safety walks are when LAPD, the city council member, and the business improvement district and the NIMBYs walk around your community, pointing the finger and blaming homeless people for everything. So this is the flyer right here. You see LAPD right here. You see Jan Perry in the middle, who was our city council member, right? You see Estella Lopez, who's the director of CCEA, Central City East Association, the business improvement district. Then you see about 10 business improvement guards right here. And it's a flock of NIMBYs walking all behind them in the back. So this is how they used to just walk through our community and just point the finger at everybody, talking about, oh, you need to move here. Oh, you need to go. We don't want that. We don't want that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it was like insane. And so this is what we had to deal with during that time. We ended up filing a lawsuit on their ass and getting their ass out of the community. That was after Estella Lopez tried to have Debbie Burton arrested for blowing a dollar toy air horn, talking about she went deaf behind it, and then ended up trying to sue us in court. And the judge threw out the case, and the jury found her not guilty, right? But so 2012, you know, bumping it up. So we had 2012. So the city, this is important time between 2011 and 2012, because in 2011,
he's just like going through the history of.
Hey, if y'all could mute yourselves, that'd be great.
So in 2011 and 2012 was a big time in the case where we fighting. Well, I mean, in the situation we fighting right now, because in 2011 that's when Tony LaVan. So Tony LaVan was a property rights case where Dion Joseph, the senior lead for Skid Row, took Tony Levan and 5 other guys' property, right? And so I was saying, Tony Levan, I personally know him. He saw us on Community Watch. He walked up to me and told me what had happened. And I, invited him to talk to Carl. But this was a case, right? So when Tony Levan happened, so the city got hit with an injunction when Carl and them filed the case. The city got an injunction. The injunction was they had to stop from taking homeless people's property. That was it, right? So the city's response, particularly LAPD's response, was, what? Well, if we can't take homeless people's property, then we're not gonna do nothing. We're not gonna clean the streets. We're not gonna pick up trash. We're not gonna do none of that because we can't tell the difference between homeless people's property and what trash is. So what happened was, just remember, listen to this, what happened was, so they didn't do jack for I'm talking about like at least 60 days or 90 days, they didn't do nothing. So trash just piled up, I'm talking about gorilla high, you know what I'm saying, on the streets. I mean, way high. They didn't dump no trash, they didn't pick up nothing, right? And then after the trash is way up here, then they come driving by the sanitation company, taking pictures, videoing, right? After they video, they took these pictures to go to court, right? And they say, look, Your Honor, look, this is what happened, right? When we're not allowed to take homeless people's property. You know, this is what happened, right? And so they said, what can we do, right? And so the LAPD, they refused that, like I said right here, the city stops picking up trash on Skid Row, creating a health epidemic, right? And so what happened is that the city tried to be slick. So they always use, remember this code too, they used to use it when I was in the penitentiary to lock us down. Public health and safety. They always use public health and safety to lock us down. They're gonna always use public health and safety to try to get out of a lawsuit, try to wiggle their way out of this and wiggle their way out of that, right? And so they tried to use public health and safety to get out of the Tony Levan lawsuit, get out of the injunction. They were saying that, okay, you know, the streets are dirty, they piled up, we gotta come through and take all this property, we include homeless people's property, right? So what they did was they called in the county. The county has the health department. So they called the county health department in to do a public assessment of Skid Row. This is in 2012. So when the county comes in, you know, they come in, yeah, they pick up the doo-doo, they say, yeah, we got doo-doo, yeah, we got pee-pee, yeah, we got this, yeah, we got that. Right? And then the city thinking that they're gonna turn around the county and blame the homeless people, you know, for all this shit, the doo-doo and all this stuff. But the county like, no, not too fast, not too fast. It is not the homeless people's responsibility to clean up the streets of Los Angeles, right? It is the city's responsibility to clean the damn city, right? And so the county dinged the city, right? They don't even ding their city, they wrote the city a health violation, right? And they gave them recommendations. And some of the recommendations was for them to do regular street cleaning, power washing, right? To bring trash cans on every block, right? To bring ashtrays on every block, to bring hand washing stations, to bring toilet stools, porta potties, or whatever it is on every block, right? And to do regular cleanings and spray for varmint, you know what I mean? The rats and all that kind of shit. Out of all the recommendations, the city only implemented one, and that was Operation Healthy Streets, the power washing. And they implemented for only one reason, so that they could continue to just force people to move their property so that they can take their property. They figure if they can get people to just move their property every week or every day, then they would harass people and people get tired of that, right? And they'll just move on or let their property get taken. So that's how Operation Healthy Streets started. It started on Skid Row, right? And so they started cleaning up around Skid Row, right? And then you had other certain council members like, we need that in our district. We need that over here, right? So then around 2013, right, that's when we created the Dirty Divide, our own document, right? Talking about all this shit, you know, talking about how the city, you know, it has no vested interest in really cleaning up and really doing this, right? And so around 2013, right, the city started spreading myths about TB outbreak on Skid Row and around about the city, right? So they moved OHS citywide. So now it started off and go to Skid Row. I think the next stop, they went to Venice, and then they went all around about all the little gentrified areas where they got their tourists and all that shit at Hollywood and all that kind of stuff got it first, right? And then they started doing all the other neighborhoods, right? At the same time, right, the city and LAPD sanitation, you know, it's like this, they kept saying that they can't do their job, right? And so the city continues to confiscate and destroy property under the disguise of cleaning the streets under Operation Healthy Streets. And this shit continued all the way to really around 2016 when we filed another lawsuit called Mitchell, right? Which really put an injunction and kind of like stopped them. But in 2015, I want to talk about this. So after all this stuff, so the city is switching up now. Remember from 2005 all the way to 2000, like around 11, it's nothing but criminalization. They're trying to wrest their way out of the shit. They made record numbers on Skid Row, arresting people. In fact, in 2012, Central Division right here on Skid Row wins the Meaning City Award, which is the National Law Center on Homeless and Poverty. Every year, they have what they call a Meaning City Award, where they research America for the worstest police station in America. Central Division won that record and that reward in 2012. Not only did they win it, but they broke records from all previous winners. All right, so they're the all-time scumbags. All right, and so around this time, this is when all the criminalization is beefed up. They criminalizing homeless people on steroids, right? So now they kind of figure out, no, this ain't working. This ain't working. This ain't working. So we got to change the game up. So now they switch up to property, right? So they figure if they can't get you directly, then they're going to attack your property, right? So it's about, they want to get rid of the face of homelessness, right? So that means they got to get rid of tents, they got to get rid of property and shit right there, right? So it changed to a game of property, changing the property. So that's why you see the attack change and they start doing all this healthy cleaning and all this kind of stuff, right? So around 2005, the city declares a homeless state of emergency. I never forget that. It was Mayor Garcetti and 5 of the city council members that had the biggest homelessness in their district. They had a press conference outside City Hall, and they said, from this day on, we're gonna stop the criminalization and we're gonna focus on housing, right? And so they created this Homeless and Poverty Committee meeting. That's when the Homeless and Poverty Committee meeting was created, right? Also, they said, we're gonna create this new Homeless and Poverty Committee meeting, right? And from the Homeless and Poverty Committee meeting, we're gonna dictate homeless policy and dictate everything else, right? But the first 16 months of the Homeless and Poverty Committee meeting was all based on criminalization. That's why it forced us to change the name from the Homeless and Poverty Committee to the Criminalization Committee. Those that have been in the game long enough know that's what we call it, right? The Criminalization Committee. That's how it's got its name. All right, 2016 come around, right? The city creates 5 anti-homeless laws in the city of Los Angeles, around 5611, you know what I'm saying, around how much a property can be here. You got they changed Venice Beach to Venice Park, you know what I'm saying? They say, yo, what did I say? Your property got Venice, you got a trash can, you got this. So they created like 5 new anti-homeless laws. They also create Triple H, right? There's supposed to be a bond that's gonna tax us $1 billion to bring 10,000 units, right? At the same time, the UN Rapporteur visits Skid Row, right? The city changes. It's just 10 years since the Safer Cities Initiative was created. So we was gonna protest them on their 10-year anniversary, which is in September, right? And so right before that, they changed the name from SCI to Reset. What the hell do Reset mean? Start over, right? So the city know exactly what they're doing. So how do you change it right on your 10th year anniversary to Reset? You know exactly what you're doing and you're playing games with this shit, right? So the same year, also called Mitchell versus the city is filed. The city, once again, stealing people's property in collaboration with the bids and all that shit as well. They continue to do it, right? Also the same year, data is released that shows 13,000 people are becoming homeless every day in LA County, right? So around this time too, around 2017, another UN rapporteur visits Skid Row, right? And later writes a damaging report. This was Philip Austin. You know, I personally did a tour around him with Skid Row and around about, and he talked about that what he saw. He went over there to LA Live, and then from LA Live, him just coming to Skid Row, he was like, he couldn't believe it. It was like he was going to try in a third world country or somewhere. He was like, man, the tents just came out of nowhere. He said, I was not expecting what I saw. He said, especially after driving and leaving from LA Live and then coming to Skid Row, he was like, that was a hell of a motherfucking change in my mind, right? And so he was like, it's all no political will. He said, I see it. He said he ain't interviewed or talked to nobody, just looking. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he could tell what the game is, right? And so he writes that damaging report. The same year, 2017, California Housing Partnership releases this report saying that LA County needs more than 550,000 affordable housing units to get out of the current housing crisis. This is 2017, 3 years ago, right? They saying this, right? And so what was the city's response to this report? Oh, the Homeless and Poverty Committee, they turned around and they passed a new law banning sleeping in your vehicle. Hey, how great is that, right? After you get a report saying you need 550,000 units, you pass a law banning sleeping in your car, right? And so at the same time, right, the city is being hit. The mayor's off, and the mayor in particular is being hit because can't nobody deny it. You see the tents popping up all around the city. This from since 2005, right? Shit is up now, right? Another thing about the Jones decision was the city could get out of that sleeping ban, right? Once they build 1,200 units of permanent support house. That's all they had to do, and the city can deny, or they can uplift, suspend, rescind the camping order, right? So I'm gonna tell you, since 2005, we had got all the way to right here, 2018. They still haven't met the obligation, right, with building 1,200 units, right, of affordable housing. They built some units because from First Street all the way to Washington Boulevard downtown, created a whole new city, a brick city of condos and lofts. They built so many goddamn lofts and condos, they actually got like a 12% vacancy right now. They got whole buildings just vacant, right? And so all this around 2018 happens, right? So it was 2017. So what happens is, so the mayor's being hit, right, all around the city. People starting to complain, right? You got the business people, Estella Lopez, Carl Schatz. What's wrong with all these chicks? I see all these chicks on them. She told Chief Beck, I need 40 more police over here. I see more shopping carts than I usually see, right? And so he, of course, gives her 40 more cops. Right, then you had the NIMBYs. Not on my block, out of here. They chopping it up, right? They talking shit to the mayor too. Then you have us, we organizers, right? We see that the money is going to foul because we don't see, we see that since 2016, how we in 2018, you know what I mean? Then you ain't built nothing. You ain't gave us nothing. You got our $1 billion, we don't see nothing, right? So we starting to question you too, right? And then you got the lawyers. The city is getting hit with all kind of lawsuits, right, back to back, right? They're being hit, right? So the mayor's like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Everybody is on my ass, right? And so what did he do? He turns around and he created this bridge shelter program. That's when he came out with the great idea of creating this shelter world. You know what I mean? It was gonna build these shelters, house all the homeless people in it. Everybody's gonna be happy, get all the homeless people off the streets, right? It's gonna be a lovely thing, right? And so that's when in 2018, the mayor declares a shelter emergency in the city of Los Angeles, right? Just months later, right, he opens up the first bridge shelter site in El Pueblo, right? And then, of course, a month later, he started the enforcement to go with that. Like always, they can't just give us something without putting the police with it, right? So the police joined the shit in, right? And so now voters around the city starting to question, right, city councils, leadership, you know, before it's delivering those 10,000 units, right? So now it's been 2 years, we ain't seen nothing, right? 2019, right? Data shows 3 homeless people are dying in the city of LA a day, right? July 18, legal aid files Garcia versus the city around size and destroying property. So the city continue to get hit with more litigation. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. They just continue to get hit with more and more litigation. But the fucked up part about it is LA County Coroner's Office releases this report that shows that a record number of homeless people are dying. That last year, 319 homeless people died, right? And so that's the end result of this shit, right? That we started in 2005, right? The city is bullshit, right? They should have started building housing way back there, but what they doing? They started investing in criminalization, and people start dying now. It's 3 a day. And anytime you got the coroner, releasing a report talking about, man, people's dying in record numbers, that's a result of a failed policy. That's a result of what they doing to us, right? And so now we're in 2020. I didn't write nothing in for 2020 because we're going to do that, Jerry, we're going to do that another part, because as we're going to see that it's the same doggone pony soul, it's the same soup that's being warmed up all over again, you know what I mean, that's going on. So that's the timeline. And so it was important for me to go through this timeline and show folks what the fight is. You know, because I was saying that a lot of people get in at different stages, 2018, 2019, 9. Some people got in at the last action, right? And so at us being cop watchers, you know, it's important to know who's foe and who's friend, right? And so that's what this is laid out, and it introduce you to what the fight is. So we go out there on the block, you know, I mean, we already have a working knowledge and a working history of what's going on, right? So now I just want to just talk about a little bit more, another thing. We got, where we at with the clock? You want to take a question or so, something right now before we move on?
Yeah, do you want Shayla to give a legal update now?
We can if she can do that.
Or we can open it up for some questions for 5 minutes. What do you think?
Yeah, open up a couple of questions.
Yeah. So I'm going to take Stack. So if you have a question for the next few minutes before we get a legal update from Shayla, yeah, just type Stack in the chat. No questions? All right.
Good, everybody got it.
Right on. So yeah, there's a lot of information. Of course, with the pandemic that hit, the city council did, suspend some of the enforcement across the city, but we're seeing them starting to resume enforcement the past couple of weeks and months. And as Dogon mentioned, Garcia versus City of LA, the most recent lawsuit filed against the city. Yeah, I want to introduce Shayla Myers from Legal Aid Foundation to give us an update on that case and where we're at, like right now, with the ordinances that the city is trying to bring back and enforce. Shayla? And as well as, sorry, the Judge Carter case as well. Oh, sorry, y'all, we're getting some technical difficulties. I'm just gonna. All right, Shayla, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shayla. I'm at the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. This inevitably happens, is that Jed makes me talk like in the space right after Dogon has told the whole history of things. And you're like, great, bring in the lawyer right after Dogon has told the whole like people's history of all of it. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you all that like resonates more than what Dogon just told you of the history of all of this. So I'm just going to spend just like a hot minute talking about Garcia versus City of LA, 5611, sort of what the status of the law is, because there's another injunction against the City of Los Angeles, because as Dogon points out, there's a history of injunctions against the City of Los Angeles, and there's one in place right now. It's just kind of narrow. So as Dogon said, the city passed 5611 in 2016. Peggy pointed out in the chat that there was a huge fight and a lot of pushback and a lot of protests against the city when they tried to pass 5611. And what that ordinance came about after LACAN versus City of LA, after there was an injunction, after a judge said you can't steal homeless people's belongings and throw it away. It's unconstitutional, you can't do it. And the city was like, but wait. And what they did is they wrote an ordinance that they thought followed along the margins of the court order. The judge said, you can't throw away people's property except under these limited circumstances. And they were like, great, we'll throw away property in those limited circumstances. So that's what they started doing. But because it's the City of Los Angeles, those limited circumstances went from a judge's view, which is like, limited circumstances, to, oh no, we know we're the City of Los Angeles, we know what limited circumstances are. And they took those really narrow exceptions that the judge said you can throw stuff away, and they said, oh yeah, we're going to do that. We're only going to throw stuff away when it's an immediate threat to public health and safety. But that's everything, because homeless people are dirty, right? Because there are rats, because there's feces, because we've never met a trash can we would ever dump on our own. And so everything that's in a homeless encampment is trash, right? It's exactly Dogon's point. They doubled down on this idea of an immediate threat to public health and safety. And then they did this great thing. They put all of their sanitation officers, like all their sanitation workers, in hazmat suits, and they gave them all advanced degrees, and they sent them around to sort through people's property before they threw it away, right? So they took what had otherwise been these really like bland cleanups, and they turned them into these like public health performances. You guys have all seen them, right? Anybody who's been out at cleanups knows that they're these really like drawn out, like people wear hazmat suits, those kinds of things. They're doing that for a reason. They're doing that because it fits on the margins of the court order for a judge that said you can only throw stuff away when it's an immediate threat to public health and safety. Right, that's it. You ever wondered why it was that like every single sanitation worker wears a hazmat suit and they walk around like spraying bleach and telling you that it's really dangerous, you guys really have to stay away because if you get in contact with that, it'll like ruin your life? That's why. It's because in 2012, a judge said you couldn't throw people's property away unless it was an immediate threat to public health and safety. And that's where we are now. Literally, that's everything in the city of Los Angeles. Every time the city throws away property, they're not doing it because they think that they can throw away property. They're doing it because they say it constitutes an immediate threat to public health and safety. So after a group of many, many people on this call tried to work with the city to get them to fix this, in July 2019, K-Town for All and a bunch of plaintiffs sued the city of Los Angeles to challenge this notion that everything they were throwing away was actually an immediate threat to public health and safety. So at the end of the day, that's what Garcia versus City of LA is about. Everybody agrees you can't just throw away homeless people's property. What we're disagreeing about is whether homeless people's property is an immediate threat to public health. Yeah. That's it, full stop. And it's a devastating idea that that's the fight we're having, because everybody on this call knows that tents are, that when you throw away a person's tent, it's a far worse public health disaster.
I was gonna ask why don't we put them on the,
right?
there anymore, but I remember.
So the only other difference,
There was like a whole shortage on TV before.
the only other part of that where the city and the interveners or the city and the plaintiffs disagreed in this case was whether or not you could throw away bulky items. The city said, we know we can't throw away most stuff, but we can throw away big stuff. And the plaintiffs were like, you really can't. The Constitution doesn't have a like big stuff versus small stuff exception, right? Like that's not real. And we went to the judge and we said, there's no exception between big stuff and small stuff. And the city was like, no, there is. And the judge was like, no, there's not. And so the judge enjoined the city from enforcing this bulky item provision, which is the provision that says anything that's larger than 60 gallons can get thrown away immediately. The judge said, no, that's not how the Constitution works. Thank you, Judge. And so the city has effectively gotten rid of this bulky item provision. They're not allowed to enforce it. The challenge is that doesn't mean that they're not enforcing this immediate threat to public health and safety piece about items that actually are bigger than 60 gallons. So the city right now can't throw away stuff because it's bigger than 60 gallons, but they can throw away something that is an immediate threat to public health and safety. And that's going to keep going while we fight this fight in court. Which is, no, that's what we're fighting about. That's what we're litigating against. So every time you all are out in the community and you're videotaping them throwing away stuff, what they're doing is they're trying to say it's dirty, and we're trying to say we don't care if it's dirty, you're still not allowed to throw it away. So that's Garcia versus City of LA. That's the status of that case. That's the difference between the injunction and the rest of the case. Hopefully that like clarifies that piece of the case. Does anybody have any questions about that part of the case and what we're fighting?
I'm taking stack, so type stack in the chat. Peggy?
I just want to say thank you, Shayla, for clarifying about how they created this crazy industry of sanitation events. Whatever you could call them performances, but they are. I call them events. But because I like to say when they're out there with all those on the boardwalk with all that equipment and the hazmat, so I call it a parade. So, but I thank you because it's really important that people see they're actually spending so much money on doing this when they could actually help people instead of this, which is huge. They actually created more yard, house the equipment and the budget. And I mean, these people have their city employees with retirement. And I mean, this is a lot of money invested in this. It's so crazy. So thank you for kind of showing how the birth of it happened, because people don't realize it wasn't like that before. Of course, they would just come take your shit and throw it away before too. So thank you.
And it also, I think, shows the limits of the court, right? I think that's the reality of it. Dogon outlined like 30 cases that have been litigating the same thing. I personally have been involved now in 4 of these cases where it's the same sort of thing, right? And the reality is these court cases only get you so far. But what court cases do is they give space. I always think of these as like defensive, even though we're suing the city on behalf of unhoused folks, on behalf of LACAN, on behalf of whoever, they really are defensive, right? And what they do is they give organizers and activists hopefully a little space and a little room to change public opinion around these kinds of things. And also sometimes public court cases can be terrible. So I'm going to talk just really briefly about LA Alliance versus City of Los Angeles and what happens when the Business Improvement District in Los Angeles decides they're going to sue the city. So do you guys remember Dogon talked about the Central City East Association and Estela Lopez? So they've got a lawyer. And that lawyer, I always call him Uncle Don, but his name is Don. He is the lawyer for the Central City East Association. A couple of years ago, he started an organization called Downtown Alliance for Human Rights to try and get involved in the Mitchell case, to try and get involved in LACAN's settlement with the city. And the judge said, no, you should probably just bring your own lawsuit. And so that's what they did. The downtown businesses, members of the Downtown Business Improvement District in Skid Row, and a few other business owners started their own organization called LA Alliance for Human Rights. Sorry. And that organization brought a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles, purportedly to get the city to create housing. But what they said was homeless people were causing all of these problems. City, you should probably get them housing to get rid of all of the problems that homeless people are causing. And that lawsuit has gotten a lot of attention because it was assigned to a judge called Judge Carter. He is a judge in the Central District, but he takes a different approach to litigation. And so the city has been cooperating with the LA Alliance and Judge Carter to come up with some strategies to address homelessness. And LACAN intervened in the case. We represent them there too. But that case that is true. He did defend Catholic Church in some unsavory lawsuits. That case, people talk about as if it is about homelessness. It's being brought by the business community. It's a really different lawsuit than when unhoused people sue because their constitutional rights are being violated. And as a result of that case, the judge issued an order requiring unhoused people to move away from freeways. I don't know if you guys have heard about this injunction that the judge issued in May that said that unhoused people couldn't be within 500 feet of freeways. That order went away. The judge got rid of that order, but the city was like, sounds like a good idea. Let's keep doing it anyway. So even though they're not required to do it, they're still doing it in various parts of the city. It's a complicated, weird case. It's like nothing anybody has ever experienced before. But I just wanted to flag that the courts can be used for good, like Fitzgerald's, Jones, and then they can be used for awful, or like the LA Alliance. And they're really complicated. And I'm happy to answer questions if folks have them, but I just wanted to draw a distinction between the two, because those are sort of the two things that are framing how the city is thinking about homelessness right now when it comes to the courts.
Yeah, no, I saw Theo was on Stack before, if Theo had a question.
I did. First of all, thanks, Shayla, for that analysis. I was going to ask, and I did ask a little bit a while ago, but about injunctions about these new Buscano order that he's really trying to drum up some support. I saw in a couple of the pages that they have some of the NIMBYs are up in orgasmic states about this, and they wanted to take on, which kind of is disconcerting, along with when Jet was telling us last night about this other crazy guy. They also have some people that are drumming themselves up to, I guess, take their city or take their streets back, and starting to group up with a few people because of that. So is there something we can do to stop that? Or at least slow them down before they don't, because especially in this climate where people are really on edge and eager to be vigilante, this doesn't sound like this is going to augur well.
My guess is the question of how to stop this is the next part of Dogon's like what to do in 2020 piece of it. The only thing that I will say about the motion is when we think about people, the Constitution protecting people, because that's generally, unfortunately, that's sort of the last, that's the last defense that unhoused people have, is when they have to turn to the Constitution to look for protections. There's two sets of protections. There's one, to Dogon's point, there's one about protecting people from their stuff being taken, sort of property-based, and that's what Garcia is about. And then there's this idea that they can't arrest you for sleeping on the sidewalk. And that's Martin versus City of Boise. That's the case that says you can't arrest someone if all they're doing is sleeping on the sidewalk. That was the basis of this Jones litigation in LA in 2006. What the city is doing is they're saying, well, sure, Martin says you can't arrest people for sleeping on the sidewalk, but we're not going to arrest people for sleeping on the sidewalk. We're just going to say they can't sleep on certain sidewalks. And so they're taking the position that it's legal because it doesn't say you can't sleep under any sidewalk. But that's what they're doing. They've decided they can't regulate the whole city, so they're just going to divide it up. They're going to divide it up into zones. They're going to divide it up into under freeways. They're going to divide it up into bridge housing. This is their newest strategy. It's happening in Oakland, right? With the encampment management plan that just passed in Oakland. It's happening here. It's happening in cities all around the country. This new idea that just because you can't make people not sleep in single places doesn't mean you can't, in every place doesn't mean you can't ban where they sleep in certain places. It's the new strategy. Again, it's that litigating on them or legislating on the margins of court orders. It's like a judge says one thing and they're like, oh, that means we can do this, right? That's the hard part of all of this. So.
Thanks, Sheila. I saw Matt Zaro had a question. We do need to move along though. So Matt, if you have a quick one.
Yeah, I just want to lift up that like one of the consequences of these lawsuits is also for us smaller cities, they're looking towards these lawsuits as guidelines. So we just spent seven and a half hours of a Redondo Beach City Council meeting for them talking about how they could not get sued because they're looking to the city of LA and they're looking to these organizations, and that's their guiding principle. So I just want to thank Shayla once again because if it weren't for some of these lawsuits, these smaller cities that don't get as much attention would be treating unhoused people even worse because because they have no threat of being sued, and now they know that if they do some of these things, they can't afford this litigation. So I just want to point that out that is another sort of side effect and blowback of some of this lawsuit.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you so much, Shayla. We're going to continue working with you and working with each other and building power together. I'm going to switch it back to General Dogon to talk about how we form street watch, community watch teams on the ground. What do we do? How do we take action?
So thank you for that. So we done just went through the timeline, right? And we see that the city ain't got no damn invested interest to solve this problem. And Shayla just gave you the update talking about what's going on there. So, I mean, the city has been found guilty 5 times, right? I don't know how many breaches and contempts they had. I think they'd add another one 6 times. If that had been me, I'd be in the penitentiary with life on my 3rd strike, right? So my question is, how do we hold the city accountable, right? How do we hold not only the city accountable, but how do we make these politicians do the right thing, especially when we look at 15 years of genocide right here. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I say genocide, because it's 3 people are dying a day. And that's what by day records. It's saying 3 a day. I say it's 5 or 6 or 7, especially when you got the county coroner's office giving reports talking about the city is passing records of people dying, right? So how do we hold how do we hold the city accountable, right? You do that. Community watch team is a big way that I've learned how to do that because community watch team build power on the block with community residents, to build power on the block with the folks that are affected on the ground. It creates a fight back in the community. It supports a legal defense. And it also creates a political fight too, because it gives you the information and the power to go to these city council meetings and these other meetings, right? And tell them what's really happening, right? And so also, so why create a community watch team? That's what I was talking about, you know, just like when you look at, for example, we want to take back the narrative in our community, right? Because they always talk about how bad we are and how it is. And so if you just look at the new motion that, what's his name? Joe Bacano, you know what I'm saying? He just came out with, right? Where they want to start back up the Care and Care Plus suites, right? This guy justified, you know, he wanted to try to start back up the suites again by saying that the city and sanitation have collected 276 tons of material, you know, off the streets. That they sanitation provided 900 showers during these sweeps, right? And that they passed out 2,100 sanitation kits, and they passed out 266 tents, right? So you can obviously, just by looking at this, me reading it, you know what I mean? The first thing coming to my mind is the city throwing out a lot of numbers, right? So they throwing a lot of numbers out. They let you know they playing a numbers game, right? They trying to get numbers. They trying to show that they worth it, right? They trying to show that that their existence, what they doing is making an impact, right? And it worked. Well, I give you an example. I had to say something about the tents, the 266 tents, you know, but so I seen the tents that they giving out and I seen the tents that they taking. So you see these if I got a partner, right, you know, we both sleep in a tent. She got property, I got property, right? And then we got a couple of other items, cosmetics and stuff like that, right? We got to have at least a 4-man or 6-man tent. That's gonna be right? So the city, they come out and they're taking these tents, right? And then they give out, you see these little tents they giving out? They're giving out the little small ass tents ain't big enough for a chihuahua to be in, right? I'm talking about a little midget couldn't fit in a damn tent, all right? If he did, he wouldn't be able to turn around. I wouldn't be able to fit in that tent. You know what I mean? They're not really tents. I don't even know how they can call them a tent, right? So you take this big ass tent, this 6-man tent, and you give a person this little bitty ass tent for a chihuahua, right? And then you say, oh, you were dropping people out. You know what I mean? That you passed out 266 tents. Yeah, if you saying you passed out 266, how many are you saying that you stole? You ain't telling me that number, right? So that's just some of the stuff we need to talk about. So it's about taking back the narrative, right? And that's what Community Watch Team do, right? Not only is it talking about taking back the narrative, but while we on the watch, it's about documenting our community. It's about telling our stories. It's about making our community safe, you know, because that's what Community Watch is. You know, we ain't gonna call the police, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna call my brother and my sister that I'm organizing with. You know what I'm saying? When you know your community, when you're involved in your community, you ain't gotta speak behind your community back. You know what I'm saying? You can go out there on the block and talk to people, right? And so we documented this report called The Dirty Divide, right? It's a call for public health equality, where we walked around while we on Community Watch and we mapped out every part of Skid Row. We talked about what streets we needed a trash can, what streets need a bathroom, what streets need lights and stuff like that. So all that was created. We also talked about the political fight, you know what I'm saying, doing while we on Community Watch, right? So we wrote reports on talking about that too. And there's a lot of information that we get, you know, from our Community Watch teams, right? That support a lot of the data that we got, right? And so for example of that, we have another campaign called PTP, Produce the Permit. And that was for the businesses. So these businesses just came out in Skid Row and just started taking up the blocks. People seeing them all around the city. They started putting these fences up, right? Then they put the gardens up, they put the rocks up and all this, where the homeless people can't put up a tent, right? So they call themselves, you know, taking the streets, taking the city. Well, the street is for everybody, especially. So we have a right to sleep on the streets as well from 9 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. You'd even denying people that right. So we went around with this campaign, PTP, and we started liberating all this stuff that the businesses put on the streets and start throwing it away. And we invite homeless people for that. while we also on Community Watch, we go around and we create what we call block captains. So we got folks on the block, you know, understand me, that's houseless, that want to be a part of the fight, right? So we got to educate folks and let them know, you know, understand me, what the city is doing, why there ain't no damn housing, right? You know, educate them to the fight. And then people who have no problems turning up and fighting for us, you know, understand me, fighting for their own liberation, right? And so block captains are good for giving us information, call us, letting us know what's happening, because we can't be everywhere all the time, right? We're not saviors, you know, understand me, people got to learn how to, you know, understand me, join and fight for themselves as well, right? And so also we, you know, been involved in removing the BS from out of our community and stuff like that. That's part of taking back the community too on Community Watch, right? Fortunately, we need to go over this report right here. This is a report that was done by Berkeley Law School, and it was done for WRAP, Western Regional Advocacy Project, which we are a part of that coalition, right? And it talks about the business improvement districts, how these business improvement districts come in your community and they set up improvement districts, right? Where they tax the businesses, local business in that area, make them pay a tax. They take that money and then lobby against you in your community to have you moved out of your own community and stuff like that, right? They come in to take your community and turn it into a business district, saying what they was doing downtown. That's why I got me involved into the fight. So that's some of the reasons, you know, why we want to create a community watch team. I would say the biggest part of that is organizing people power, building people on the block. I can't tell you all the stories about as soon as we come on the block, the cops is jacking people up and we hit the block and we got our t-shirts on. And the people like, oh shit, here come LACAN, here come LACAN, y'all gonna get it now, right? And people start, you know, welcome us and everything. They tell us exactly what happened and everything. And so that's the relationship, you know, understand me, that we don't build up on the block. You know, understand me, people know why we're there. We're not trying to appear as we saviors for nobody. We let people know straight out the top. You know, understand me, you gotta we fight with you. We ain't gonna fight for your ass. You know, understand me. You got to stand up and join the fight. You know, damn it, you got to throw some stones too, damn it, right? And so that's what it's all about. And so I just want to just real quickly just talk about our Community Watch program. Our Community Watch program is composed of, we had 4 members at first, but now we're doing 3. And that was a point person who's the lead person on the team. I was a point person. The roles of a point person is doing a direct communication with the guards or either the police, whoever it is we're talking to. Make sure everybody is in their role. So we have other players on the team. We have a general support person that does a lot of documentation, a communication person that really keeps the books and, you know, call for support if we need it. And then we have a videographer that videos everything. So the point person responsibility is to make sure everybody is doing their roles when we get on the scene. Make sure the folks in the community tenor is all right. People on the block tenor is cool. Make sure that all the paperwork is on the clipboard and all the film and the footage, you know, understand me, the cameras were working, got extra batteries, to make sure everything is everything. And it really is just the point person has the most knowledge on the team. So most definitely is to make a couple of calls while we out there based on what the point person see and experience and stuff like that, right? Then we have a general support. General support person basically is just what his name say, general support. General support do mainly all support all other roles, but mainly thing we do is interview witnesses, take witnesses' statements, pass out flyers and stuff like that, take down contact information and stuff like that, and then just also document incidents where we at, what's going on, what's happening. The videographer don't do nothing but video. Do 2 types of video, do regular video incidents, and then do video declarations, taking people's declarations. So we do legal declarations over the video. Under the penalty of perjury, we have people tell their story. Some people don't want to come to the office and take time and sit down and get some coffee and talk to you for 2 hours. They got like 10 minutes, so they want to tell a story on tape. So we'll take the video documentation. And so that's some of the roles that we have on Community Watch. And then just, you know, I just want to just go over some of the best practices for Community Watch. And so some of the best practices, so far as, let me get my notes right here. I don't want to miss anything. So, some of the best practices I want to go on. So basically some of the do's and don'ts and stuff, right? So some of the documentation that we use in Stock Community Watch incident form. So where you at, when you start doing street watch, if you don't have an incident form, you most definitely could use this one. I will send this and put this up on the law blog. You say you have incident forms already, but this is one. So what's good about this incident form is one side right here that you're looking at is the one that talks about the police and the bids and stuff like that. And it talks about an incident when a person is dealing with the police. And then you turn it over on the other side and it talks about public health and safety. So this is for like when we ain't documenting the police, we go around and we talk to community residents. We invite them into the fight, you know what I'm saying? We let them know what's going on. We let them know what city council is talking about them, what they say about them, right? And we do public health and safety. So this report right here just basically document the conditions on the block, right? Is it lights on the block? Is it trash cans on the block? Is it fucking, are they clean? You know, it's just anything that you could think of is on this block. I mean, it's on this form right here. If it's not, you can put it on there. So that's some of the forms that we use. And we also pass out a lot of forms like police complaints. We help people write police complaint forms. We pass out the city claims for damages. That's when the city take people's property. They got these claims for damage forms that you can fill out. The city will always deny these forms, but what it does is open up the case for you to take the city to a small claims court and file a small claims. Because sometimes we can't get people, you know, into a plaintiff position to where, you know, they're gonna be a part of a lawsuit. But people that we don't want to discourage people from taking their own, you know, the law in their own hands or taking a case to court, you know, and that's going to taking the city to small claims and suing them that way, right? And so we have some roles while we on Community Watch, you know what I'm saying, at LACAN, you know, and basically that's a couple good ones, you know what I'm saying. Make sure that you're a team player. Make sure people don't bring nothing illegal on Community Watch. Make sure people stay focused on Community Watch. Don't be doing outside calls or walking around talking on your cell phone or doing watch and stuff like that. So just a couple of basic principles for just moving along. And then I just want to just talk about the best for paying attention to documenting what's going on, right? Some of the do's and don'ts, right? So some of the best principles for handwritten documentation is always have a clipboard with forms on it, flyers and enough pens and stuff like that. So I can tell you about how many times we've been on watch and the pen don't work and we got to take 10 minutes to run into the store, right, to buy an ink pen or some new batteries. And while we're in the store, the pigs pull up, you know what I'm saying? It's just so happy the videographer guy is in the store getting a soda or doing this and that. So we got to call people out. So always have everything that you need right there on the clipboard. When you want to document, the streets, the places, the date, the time of the incident, stuff like that. You want to document the cops, the city workers, county workers. You want to document the badge numbers and serial numbers. There's a difference between badge and serial numbers. So you must definitely want to get both of those. You want to document the cops' rank and file. Was he a sergeant? Was he a lieutenant? Also, as being a cop watcher, you want to know what are the rank and files. You want to know everybody from a P1, which is a police one, a rookie, all the way up to a police commissioner. Police commissioner got 5 stars, the chief got 4, right? And so you want to learn the whole pecking order because LAPD is a rank and file pecking order. And the reason why I say that, because you will really run up to no P1 complaining about him to do something for you that he ain't got the power to give you. He ain't got the power to do. So when you're working with a rank and file, you got to know who can give you what they want, you know, what you want, right? And so you got to know who to talk to, right? And so most definitely learning that. Writing down license plates and equipment that's used at the incident, right? So sometimes they come out with all kind of crazy ass equipment and shit like that. LA Stop the Pigs Coalition got a good list of trap wires and lasers and all that kind of stuff, you know, how to spot what to look for in your community when the pigs are spying on you. So you could most definitely look at the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition and look at some of the data they got for and some of the stuff that the cops use on the block, right? You want to document witnesses and witnesses' statements. You want to document what people saying. And, I'm going to tell you, y'all can have 10 people see the same damn incident, right? And so y'all be surprised that all 10 people will give you 10 different stories, right? So when you got witnesses, always write down what a witness can witness to, because, you got some people seeing certain things and some people seeing other things, right? Everybody ain't seen the same damn thing, right? And so you want to document the agencies. You want to document city worker, county worker, federal worker, state worker, right? Who they are. You got different law enforcement agency groups. So you want to most definitely make sure you document the right one. Document all contact information you can get, especially from law enforcement and stuff like that, from city officials. They have to give you the information, especially from the cops. It's called Special Order 13 that demands, upon request, that all LAPD give you their business card. So they're supposed to have these business cards, right? And the business card on one side is supposed to have the cop's name, the date, his badge number, and his serial number, right? Turn it over, you write down what was the reason, for the stop, understand me? And witness statements and stuff like that on the back of the card, right? These cards are very important because they prove, one, that you was there, that you was part of the incident and that you was on the scene. Two, it identifies who was there, especially the cops, because if you got some cops, they got common names like Jones and Williams and stuff like that, ain't no cop gonna voluntarily tell you, oh yeah, I was there, it was me. That shit ain't gonna happen, all right? So you wanna make sure you have information to prove that you was there. Then also make sure that you get, when you write your report, make sure you get it all right. So if the cops say, why I want to give you a card? I ain't giving you a card. You ain't got nothing to do with it. You let them know you was a witness. You know what I mean? That you saw every damn thing, right? And that if he don't give you a card, he violated your right to file a complaint, right? And so, and most definitely you want to document what's being told, what the police is telling people, right? That's very important, right? So most definitely do that, all right? All right, some of the other things that don't document, right? Never document anything that didn't happen, right? Especially on some of the incident forms that we got, because some of the incident forms we got are legal documents. Been many a time we out where we videotape it, right? And we out there watching, and the police see us out there watching, right? So when they get back, they'll say, okay, we ain't got no video footage. Just before they had body cameras, right? They'll say, okay, well, we didn't have no footage of the incident or what happened, but we know LACAN did, right? And they know that LACAN, they just can't walk into LACAN and say, hey man, let us get a copy of that footage. They know they're not gonna get it, all right? And so what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to subpoena us in court, and they have done that, and they will continue to do that. And they will do it with us, right? With street watching anybody. If they know that you got a database, a legal database, and you keep information in that illegal database, they coming for that motherfucker, especially if it's involved in any part of a lawsuit. Have you ever seen the FBI raid or the city raid somebody's house? The first thing they come out is your computer. That's the first damn thing they come out with, because they want to know what you're talking about and what you're thinking about, right? And so information is always important to them, right? And so with that said, never give any info to the police. You take all the information, don't give them jack, right? If they wanna ask you for something to subpoena you for, you don't give them nothing. Don't voluntarily give the police nothing, right? Unless it's in your best interest or the people's best interest or the best interest of the situation right there. You know what I mean? If everybody agree on it right there, then fuck it. You know what I mean? It's common info. You know what I mean? But other than that, don't give the police nothing, right? Never give them your clipboard, your forms, nothing, right? So that's a couple of things for best practices. And I don't spend a lot of time talking to too much people, especially if it's a lot of people to be interviewed, and don't get into arguments or debate. So just the quick things I want to just talk about for is video practice. So so when you got a video, most definitely, this is our 9mm right here that we call, right? Because this is more powerful than the 9mm right here. The police is to chase them down the streets, right? But it also get your ass arrested, right? We're gonna talk about that too as well, with interfering into a police investigation, right? But so when you video, most definitely, once you start that video, and when you go into a video, when you come into the scene, keep that camera going. Always have the camera going. Don't turn it off, right? And you have a right to video the police and document them during the course of their duties, but you don't have a right to engage them. Right? You can watch them all goddamn day, but they don't never gonna give you the legal right to run up on the police and, what you doing? Hey, what you got there? You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get that nowhere, right? So you got a right to ask them questions, right? You know what I'm saying? But not to engage them and do all that, especially right smack in the middle of an incident. That's why they arrest people, you know what I'm saying, for interfering with their incident, right? You know, so always start with a watch or some cameras that work, right? Make sure you got an extra films and batteries and all that. Pay attention to detail. Focus on the incident, right? If the incident, stay on the incident. Don't be trying. I see people video, then they want to turn around, hit the crowd, and do all that kind of. As soon as you do that, that's when something gonna happen over here. So stay focused with the incident, right? Never videotape somebody that don't want to be video, unless right, they being jacked by the police. And then we explain to them later, hey man, it's nothing personal, you know what I mean? We videoing you, but we video you, you know what I mean? Not to put you on YouTube, but none of that shit, make some stupid ass video, but we video you so that we can learn and document the police and in the way that they treat people. We want to document the style of policing they doing, right? We want to make sure that your rights are not being violated. And we ensure people that the only person that's going to review this tape is a lawyer. And they're going to review it only to make sure that there's no civil rights violations that happen, right? And so the cops, you know what I mean, they're going to be on with the other person. There goes the cop watchers. Tell them to turn the video off. You know what I mean? They ain't got to video you. The cops going to encourage the other people to tell them to turn them off, the video, because the cops don't want you to video them because they're going to be on the videotape. But I always tell the pigs, you know what I mean, why you so worried about the video camera, right? If you ain't doing nothing, if you ain't violating nobody's rights, the camera going to show that, right? So I mean, that's what you want, right? You want to show, you know what I mean, that you ain't doing nothing, you know what I mean, that you helping the situation, right? You out here serving and protecting, as you claim, right? So the camera will show that. But if you violate people's rights, it's also going to show that as well. Right. So another thing, this is very important. We've been in lawsuits, many of the lawsuits, and we lost lawsuits behind the video footage, behind people narrating over the video footage and stuff like that. Right. And so I'm gonna say this again and again and again and again. Never narrate over the video footage while the camera is rolling. If you want to talk in the beginning of the footage. Talk about like when you walk into it, like what street we on, where we at. You understand me? Or talk after, right? To make some corrections. You know, identify where you was at, the time, date, and the place, or, you know what I'm saying, to add whatever it is you need to add, but do it before or after. But once you hit an incident and you into it, do not start narrating on the camera, especially speculating. Do not speculate over the camera because it looks bad in court, and then it's just a bad thing to do, right? So never cuss over the video cameras as well. I talked about one of our videographers we had. You know, they made us lose a lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was like, you know, the judge and the jury and everybody want to see you video. Like, I got your ass now, huh? Look at you, huh? What you gonna do? We got your ass. Let me zoom in. Yeah. So no, that ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that ain't gonna happen, right? And so don't stop until the incident is over with. Always video the whole incident to beginning to end. Even let the camera last long for a little bit. Let it linger on because sometimes things happen. Right, so don't cut the camera. You know, let me keep it going. If the cops tell you to turn the camera off, keep that camera going. Do not cut the camera off, especially when the police tell you to keep it on. You know, let me do not stop filming, right? And so also, you know, my best practice with video is telling the videographers to get outside the incident. Don't try to get caught up inside the circle, inside the incident, because then you're gonna end up just getting video the person right in front of you, and you're not gonna be able to see the outside of it. So always get the outside in the bulk and always hit the crowd when you first happen so you can see who's in the crowd. So we got to go back afterwards and see who the witnesses are, who we can call for a witness. We can look through the videotape and we can see who was in the crowd, right? So always make sure you fan the crowd, right? And get folks that are in the crowd, right? And so so that's about it for as some of the best principles and practices, you know, community. Yeah, so I just want to say this real quick. So community-wise training, you know, it's always ongoing. People always say, oh man, we do a training for like 5 hours and let's do this and get real deep into it. I always tell people it's a little bit at a time, right? It's like what they say in the 12-step program, keep coming back, right? Because the law is always changing, right? It's like Shiley was saying, you know what I'm saying? You got a new injunctions, right, on the city, they can't do this. Garcia, we got new injunctions on that. They can't do this, right? They're supposed to be stopping this, stopping that, right? So we got to be able to watch and document that. So we always got to come back, you know, and let people know, you know, what the new laws are and stuff like that. And then it's a whole lot to train on. So we ain't gonna get it all done in one training. So we're gonna keep coming back and keep doing more trainings. But that's some of what we got for today. But we're gonna get into a little bit more, maybe some a role play or something. Talk about engaging versus documenting. So if you had a question though, what is that?
Hey, I just wanted to add one tip for those of you who are filming with your phone, with your cell phone. Always film horizontal. So turn your phone horizontal and then push record. Because sometimes if you push record while you're turning it, it'll like film it sideways. So turn horizontal, then hit record. You film this way, which a lot of us have just a habit of doing. You get those black bars on the side. Those aren't useful. It's better to get the wide shot. That's just a tip for those of you who are using your phone to film.
Okay. All right. So there's been a lot of you know, questions, you know, about engaging the police versus documenting the police. Just like I said earlier, some states and some cities just passed a new a new law saying that you cannot film the police, right? But California has not done that. You can film the police and document the police in California. So most definitely, you have a right to film and document the police, right? You have a right to be on public sidewalk, right? The sidewalk never closed, right? Don't let the police tell you that you're loitering. They'll tell you that you're loitering, shake the spot, right? A lot of people think, oh, what is loitering, right? A lot of people think loitering is hanging out, you know, doing something that nobody else wants you to do, or being in a place that nobody wants you to be. That's not loitering, right? Loitering is hanging out with a criminal intent, right? You set out to do something illegal, right? And you on the streets doing something illegal, right? That's loitering, right? But as a citizen, everybody have a right to public sidewalk. And don't ever forget that. The sidewalk never closes. It's open 24/7. You can stand on the sidewalk all day long, look up at the birds, smoke cigarettes, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you do, right? As long as you don't block the sidewalk, you or your property, you can stand out there for as long as you want, right? So that's the key right there, right? The key is, one, you have a right to document the police, right? And you have a right to be on public sidewalk. The only time the sidewalk closed, right? And they should know, they should tell you that, is when the city or it's the police or, you know, some type of workers, they put up tape, right? They put up yellow tape. There's some yellow tape they put up, right? This is caution tape, but you will see the police got their own tape. They got a badge on their tape, right? It says police tape, right? And so they got their tape. Then they got the red tape, which a lot of OHS used to use when they first started off. It was about like health, you know, public health, hazardous material and stuff like that, right? And so the tape. So this is what closes the street sometimes. So when you see the yellow tape is up and the cop put up the yellow tape, you know what I mean? That means, you know what I mean, that this part is closed off to you, right? To the public, shit, right? And so I know all the time when we on Community Watch, right? We had some cop, his name was Lieutenant Matt. I'll tell you, this guy, like, he had a fucking like this shit in like in a tape measure in his pocket. Every time our Community Watch team, we would walk on this way, he would move the tape over there and this way, straight over here. And we would walk over here, he'd move the tape over here. So wherever we was, that's where he would put the tape up, right? And so if you cross the tape, of course, you're gonna get arrested. Unfortunately, Pete crossed the tape a couple of times and moved that tape, and his ass was arrested, right? One time he physically crossed the tape because they had moved down the street, right? And they had tour where they was at. Pete crossed over the tape, he was arrested. Another time he stuck his camera over the tape line and started videoing. They snatched him and his camera on the other side and arrested his ass then too, right? And so it's times when they can do that as well, right? And so I would say, so it gets down to what I was saying at first, is that you have a right to document the police, but you don't have the right to engage the police. Now, engaging the police. So what we do as street watch and community watch, that's all we do all day is watch and document the police, right? I really can't think of a time when I would want to get up close and personal in a police face, unless in a couple of times I did it to prove a point on a block, right? When the police pulled up and there was some people hanging on the block, and then the police got on a microphone and said, "Hey, everybody right here, get out of here. You're all loitering," right? And people started to walk away. And I was like, no. Where you going? Where you going? You're not loitering. You're not loitering, right? I told them, as a citizen, you have a right to public sidewalk. It never closes, right? Open 24/7. And I turned to the cop and I was like, loitering is hanging out with a criminal intent. You know what I'm saying? And I said, you need to tell people that there's nobody out here loitering. You know what I'm saying? People out here smoking a cigarette and having a conversation. There's no loitering, and people have a right to public sidewalk. And so, you know, people stood there. People understood that. And that's about creating that culture of resistance, like when they're fighting back. That's our job too, is when the cops come on the block, right? And say, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. My job as a cop was to say, no, that ain't exactly what we gotta do, buddy. You know what I'm saying? We gotta be the ones that set an example, all right? And show, you know, what we supposed to be doing, right? And so this was one of those situations, right, where they tried to say everybody's loitering, get out of here. So that was one of the times when I got into a police face. But other than that, I try to keep in our community watch team, we try to keep a distance. So so from history perspective, so the Black Panthers, they community watch team. They stay approximately 25 feet and more. In fact, looking at some old video, I was talking to some old Black Panthers and stuff like years ago, right? And they was telling me that they used to stand across the street and sometimes. Right. One reason they had shotguns at the time, you know what I mean? You could legally, the California law said you could have a gun as long as it was not hit. You know, it had to be shown, and it couldn't be a bullet in the chamber, right? And so they stood across the street, right? And I remember Huey saying that that they didn't want to get close to the police, that they didn't want to interfere with the police while the police was doing what they supposed to be doing, whatever that was, right? Their job, basically, what they pointed to do was only to make a presence. And they wanted to make a presence to show that the police and show that the people that they there and that they watch, right? And if the police do anything on there, you know what I mean, that they was gonna have some issues and some problems. And I remember when I was a member of Cop Watch LA, you know what I'm saying, we was like 15 feet and we stayed apart, you know, from the cops. I know with community watch team here at LACAN, it's within what we consider to be a reasonable distance, and that's what the police say is a reasonable distance. There is no law. There is no law that says how close you can get to the police. It's what the police feel comfortable. It's what the police feel is a reasonable distance. So when the police tell you, hey, get back, you know what I'm saying? You have to show that you get back. You know what I'm saying? If not, they're gonna arrest you, right? Or jack you up, right? And so I know there's a 69 PC, which is a felony arrest, which I was arrested for twice. I was arrested and I was facing 25 years to life for doing community watch. I was arrested and I was charged with 69 PC, which is interfering with a cop during the course of their duties. And this was why I own community watch, right? John Rayflin, people who know John Rayflin, that motherfucker got me out the penitentiary. I've been in the penitentiary right now with 25 with an L, right? If it wasn't for John Rayflin, right? He beat the case and got me out, right? But other than that, my ass was gone, right? And so it's easy to get arrested, right? But it's hard to get out, right? And so we don't want to. The idea is to go out there and document the police, not to go out there and argue with the police, not to get all in the police face. You know what I mean? Not to fight and wrestle with the police, right? Because the police is just one little cop. He's a rookie. He was sent out there by the mayor to do all this. To everybody that's on the block, all those cops are just those are foot soldiers, right? Those are the guys that's out. They the ones that get the orders to go out there and do the dirt, right? Our job is to get the people that's sending their ass, right? And to get the people that's sending their ass is about documenting people that's out there doing the dirt, you know, the foot soldiers documenting what they do, right? Documenting that story, right? And so that's it right there. And so I know we was talking about maybe if people want to, I mean, we could just give you an example of what that step back means. But I always tell people, so you got, so I want you to stand right here. We're gonna deputize. We're gonna make you. We ought to make him take the t-shirt off. We ought to make him take the t-shirt off. But let's say you got the camera right here, right? So most asshole cops. So when you get a real asshole cop, right, straight off the top, right? As soon as he see you coming, soon an asshole cop, hot-headed, you know what I'm saying? Knows you really watch him. As soon as he see you coming, first thing he's gonna do, he's gonna meet you. He's gonna come, he's gonna say, you know what? I don't need you here. I need you to stand right here. I need you to stand right here. And if you move, come anywhere past this line, I'm gonna arrest you, right? And so I moved Jeb, right, way back here, right? And so this is what the cop gonna do. He's gonna come, he's gonna tell you where to be. He's gonna say, I need you right here, right? And if you move from right here, you move anywhere else, you're going to jail, right? And so that's a hot-head cop. Or you got the cop that's gonna come and he's gonna put up the tape, right? And he's gonna say, you cross that line, you're going to jail, you know, right? And so you got that type of cop, right? And then you got the kind of cop, you know what I'm saying, that's gonna allow you to come. He's gonna let you get up close and personal. He ain't tripping, right? So you can do all that. But when a cop tell you to get back, first thing you want to do is say, hey, you want to say, hey man, you know what I'm saying? As a citizen, I have a right to observe you during the course of your duties, right? So you can just say that, and then what you gonna do?
Yeah, I have a right to film you. So.
Yeah, you have a right to film me, but not that close though.
Okay.
So you need to bag up.
Okay.
And so basically, yeah, you just want to just show the cop, you know, let him know, hey man, I got a right to be here. I got a right to film you during the course of your duty, right? And so out of respect though, I'm gonna take a couple of steps back, right? And so this is good, so he can't arrest you, you know, saying that you ain't trying to get back or saying that you violating his space. So you take the camera like this, put the camera down and show that you're moving back. Show them that you're moving back, right? You say, man, you know what I'm saying? Where you want me to be at? You know what I'm saying? You're gonna push me all the way down the block. And then if there's other people that's in the vicinity, let's say he's on the block, right? But he ain't got no camera. You know what I'm saying? He pushed me past him. I'm like, hey man, you ain't attacking me because I got a camera, right? You ain't attacking nobody else in the crowd. So you wanna make sure you say that as well, right? And then you wanna let them say that, hey man, you violated my right to film by pushing me down here, right? You violated my right, you know what I'm saying? So let them know, don't be scared to talk, neither to the cops too. And so also too, and this is the time when you see that the videographers are being attacked, most definitely you wanna start, other members start pulling out your cell phone, right? And bag him up, you know what I'm saying? So now you wanna bag up the videographer, you know what I'm saying? Just in case the cop snatch the camera out of his hand, you know what I'm saying? Turn around and arrest him. So we want to have that footage on tape. So you want to start, you know, backing up the cameraman. But I'm going to tell you, this is very important. And please never forget this, right? Because it's between a life and death. So in almost all police incidents, right? The big shit on the incident like happened the first 30 seconds. The first 30 seconds of an incident. So when the police come, right, they first jump out the car, right? Especially if they got their guns out. If they got their guns, that means it's a felony stop, right? If they just jump out and just run up on somebody and shit, do not get involved in that shit. The first 30 seconds, let that shit play out, right? Because that's when the people get shot or get hurt, the first 30 seconds of an incident, right? And the police jump out with their straps, right? And they run it up and they're doing something, right? If they got to turn around and deal with you, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, they got their strap out, they're trying to deal with this dude, they gotta watch him and shit, and they gotta turn around, they gotta watch you, your ass is going to jail. So you can believe they're gonna come over there and jack you up or say something to you. You wanna document what they're gonna do anyway, right? And so, I mean, a lot of times we see the police get out the car, right? They didn't have their guns out, but they got their little stick on the door, right? So they get out the car, right? They've been hollering at somebody on the streets. They get out the car, they swinging their billy club, and they finna go crash and bash, right? So what we can do is say, hey, stomp your feet, make a noise. Hey, you got people over here, we watching that. We see that, we videoing that. You know what I'm saying? They don't use these, you know, like police like, you know what I'm saying? But if it's the heat of the moment, they don't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna still go over there and crash And then you want to keep hollering. You don't want to keep hollering out talking about you videoing that because you may be coming over there to see your ass next, right? And so just video and document that. But just remember that, very important, the first 30 seconds of, that's when most people get shot by the LAPD and by the police and law enforcement. So you don't want to engage in that part. You just want to let it play out. And the best time to, if you are going to engage the cops, right? So let them go what they do. They got a little thing that they always do when they first get out. You know what I'm saying? They get the person, you know, first thing they do, they turn around, they search them, put them in handcuffs, right? Then they put the guy against the wall like this, right? Then at that point, they get the guy's ID and they give it to the other cop. And he go in the car and start running. So at this point, the cop is relaxed, right? Ain't nothing going on. They already got the guy in handcuffs, right? So the scene has been, cased already. So everything is all right. So at this point, you want to shout out. You want to let the cop know, hey, this is the community watch team. We witnesses. We saw that. I would like to get your business card before you leave. And so the cop sometimes like, okay, acknowledge that. So just, kind of like let them acknowledge that, hey, man, we want to talk to you, or we want to get your business card or get some information before you leave. So if you see him break out with a plastic bag, that means that the guy is going to be arrested, right? So if they're going to start taking shit out of his bag, out of his pockets and put it in his bag. So at that point, you want to start talking to the person that's being arrested, right? Let them know, hey, man, this is LACAN. This is our community watch team. You can shout out to the person, right? Because you're not interfering now. The man is being arrested. They done already got him. He's in handcuffs. He's already secured the area. They just taking the stuff out of his pocket when they're going to transfer him to the car. So there is you don't have to run up on nobody, or you can just shout and just get this information. And just ask the guy, hey man, what's your name? You know what I'm saying? And hopefully the person give you your name. Give their name, you can write it with the report. But if not, you let them know, hey look, this is LACAN, what we used to say. We got it on tape. So when you get to court, tell your lawyer, that LACAN videoed this and we got the videotape. And you'll be surprised. People remember that because people know this is the point of them getting out of jail or not, right? So when they go to court, they see their lawyer, they're gonna tell their lawyer, especially if they're innocent and they have shit to do with what's going on, they've been wrongfully charged. They're gonna tell their lawyer, man, LACAN on Skid Row got that video footage. And so they're gonna come with us, and then you got witnesses, and then you got the tape. And I'm gonna tell you, that's the best thing a lawyer can ask for. Shayla will tell you that, is that you got a fucking videotape of an incident, right? It's basically just, it's a shut and closed case, right? And so that's what we used to do, we still do it too. Is how you get information from people, and then with the cop, like I say, if he don't want to give you a business card, let him know, Special Order 13, right, that you're a witness, right, and you demand to give him your business card. And so,
sorry, I saw someone had a question, just to clarify. So let's say you're filming and documenting and a cop or sanitation worker says, hey, this is a question from Holly I saw in the chat. Hey, who are you with? Are you with an organization? What do you say?
So let them know. So for me, when you two things. So when we come on the block and you got a t-shirt on, right? And you got a community watch teamwork. So uniform, excuse my English, I'm not an American. But uniformity, how the hell you say it, right? Is the best thing. So it shows that you're not just some vigilante. It shows that you're just not some person that's just out here just talking shit. You know what I mean? It shows that you're part of the organized crew, right? It shows that you got a job too, right? That you out here doing your job, you know what I'm saying? And it also shows that you got backup, that you're not by yourself, and that you're involved in a political fight, right? And then a lot of the police knew that we had lawyers. They knew we knew the law, right? And they know that we know our rights, right? We have video cameras, we video everything, and we had lawyers. So that scared the shit out the average police. The average police in Central Division did not want to deal with us. We used to pull up on a lot of incidents, and they'd be like, "Oh, we can shake the spot," you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the cops used to accuse us of videotaping them, and they're gonna do this. They're gonna do this of videotaping them just to catch them doing something on tape to get them in trouble. I was like, man, that's what you think this is about? Us making a YouTube video about you doing something? Is you crazy? Are you insane? This is about us documenting what you do. We're not at your roll calls. We don't know what the program is. We don't know, you know what I'm saying, what you out here doing. So the only way for us to know what you're doing is to watch the style of policing that you're doing. See who you're doing it to. You only attacking black folks. You only attacking homeless people. You only attacking people with a beard over here. And let us know what style of policing that you're doing, right? That's why we watch, right? And so just like I was saying, you know, earlier, that a lot of these cops from all this shit come from city council. That's the reason why it's important for us to learn our city council members, because Mayor Garcetti, right, this whole timeline falls up under his watch, right? This man has the last 16, this is a 15-year timeline. Mayor Garcetti has been in a position of leadership in the city of Los Angeles the last 16 years. 2 terms as city council president, that's 4 years apiece. This is his 2nd year as mayor, right? 16 years, all this shit falls up under his watch. LAPD leading the nation. Homeless people, you know, dying three a day. Triple A's, all this shit falls up under his watch. Then on top of that, you had council members like Weston and some of these other people who've been involved in this shit since day one. They've been involved over here. They was in over here. They got something to do with all this. So we already know what their mentality is, because this is what they've been voting for. This is what they've been investing in all this time, right? So your council member in your district, you already know he's from the South. You already know how he's swinging. This is how he's voting, right? So when we go out there to watch, we already know what we should be watching for. You know what I'm saying? Because what we're working with, right? And so it's important to learn about those council members and learn what they're doing. Learn the political fight, right? Because here at LACAN, we created what we call a civil rights committee meeting. And every Monday, and everybody on this line is invited to our civil rights committee meeting. Every Monday at 12:30, I will send a link and Jeff and have people you can tune into it. But we talk about civil rights, what's going on. We talk about what's going on at the police commission. We talk about what's going on at city council. We talk about what's going on cop watch and street watch, what's on the block, right? Because that's where we come in. We got to have a political forum so that we can strategize and we can plan and we can, orchestrate our next step as well. And so that's what our civil rights committee be doing. It's citywide, and I encourage people to come and get involved in, right? In that. And so, yeah, I just, got another question or something.
Yeah, no, so thanks folks for being on this call. Dogon, thank you so much. This is amazing. I hope you have more time. If folks are willing to stay past 4, I think I am, unless you have to go, Dogon. But
No,
we wanted to open it up for folks, just what you're seeing across the city, because as Dogon said, this is a citywide fight, council district by council district. We want folks seeing what's going on the ground everywhere. What up, Pete White?
What up, y'all? It's going down. Let's take the city.
Legendary Pete White there. Wow, what an appearance. So, yeah, I wanted to open it up, but also really wanted to just flag for folks. I hope you have more time to talk about this. What the city is going to do next. And as Joanne says, the city council trying to keep on doing the same bullshit. Just yesterday, I believe, or was it 2 days ago? I can't remember. I think it was yesterday. About 7 or 8, almost all of city council practically signed on to this motion to enforce 4118D, no camping allowed, at underpasses via that Judge Carter Alliance case that Shayla was talking about. So they haven't voted on that yet, but they are going to vote on that soon. So they will start evicting people from underpasses and then effectively making those underpasses a zone that will be a no camping zone. Also in that motion was a Joe Buscaino addition, which is to make all of these special enforcement zones, the areas around the shelters. Not only will they have those sweeps every week that y'all have been maybe seeing, we've been posting about on Twitter, and you've been on the ground to monitor them. They're going to make those no camping zones. So they're going to say you can't even be there with property or the tent at all anymore. So this is some fucked up shit that we're going to be fighting, and we're going to be having to folks on the ground here whenever they start attempting to enforce this. And they're obviously, like I said, going to vote on it. Got to keep an eye on that. But I want to just open up right now for folks in different parts of LA. In particular, I see Jonathan from RAP is chiming in. Jonathan, I'm going to skip you because you're not in LA, right? Sorry, I'm going to give it to the LA folks to talk about what they're seeing on the ground, if they want to add anything that they're concerned about or questions in their district. So I see
They're not LA.
Zaro.
I'm not technically LA City. I'm LA County though.
Sure, but you're LA though.
Okay, cool. So I have some questions about LA sheriffs because that's who normally does sweeps in the South Bay, and I'm wondering if there's any special advice for dealing with the sheriffs. And I'm also wondering where we film sweeps is often like on the side of railroad tracks, next to the canal storm drains, and freeway areas. And I'm wondering, like, those all have no trespassing signs. So they have been pushing us so far away back that we can't really film. I'm wondering, like, is there anything we can do to try to still get access, or what are the rules around trespassing signs and filming the police?
Dogon, you want to take that?
So you're saying that the first question you were saying that the sheriffs are doing what? Or
the sheriffs are the ones who actually enforce the sweep. So they come into the encampments and force folks to leave under the threat of being arrested for trespassing.
So is this like around a freeway area or something?
This has been around train tracks, which I guess are metro property, and also on canals. So there's a storm drain canal that has a service road that is owned by the county, where encampments regularly are set up.
So yeah. So I mean, for me, so the county has been breaking down a lot as getting out of the homeless crisis and policing and shit. I know they took the sheriffs off the train from jacking folks. They took the sheriffs from doing outreach, the homeless people, and now they closed a couple of jails. Now they got Measure J out too now for the county. They're supposed to be defunding the sheriffs and sending some of that money to community, right? And so, I didn't know that the sheriffs were doing like were facilitating some of the cleanups. This is the first I.
They're not really cleanups. They're evictions. So they're not letting them clean and come back. They're just telling them they have to leave.
Oh, okay. Just tell them they have to leave. Well. I mean, we're gonna have to check that one out really. But where you at again? San Pedro?
These are in Hawthorne, so they're not city of LA.
Hawthorne. See, I knew it was something to this. So yeah, we're gonna have to really look at Hawthorne. We're gonna have to look at some of the laws in Hawthorne as well, because a lot of the different cities like Torrance and all them, you know, I mean, they not considered LA and all. They got their own little municipal codes and all that shit. And so we most definitely have to review some of that, right? And so because they changed. So that's the first area right there, area of business, is researching what the books say, right? And then basically, you know, moving from there. So you got to do some legal research there, buddy, first.
Thank you.
So you can help us with that moving forward. I can help you with that though. Just let me I'll leave my contact information. We go next every Thursday as well. We have a follow-up community watch training at 9:30 here at LACAN. So I'm gonna send that link too. So if people want to do some troubleshooting, you got some more questions, you having issues with certain cops doing certain types of policing, just the training on Thursdays at 9 a.m. in the morning. All you gotta do is get on the line and we could talk about it. We could, you know, try to help you figure out a solution to that.
And that's a Zoom call, right? Like a Zoom.
It's a Zoom
cool.
call.
We'll share that with everybody.
Well. And so we could just follow up. What was the guy's name that was with the sheriffs in Hawthorne?
Matt Zaro.
Yeah, Matt. Yeah. So let's follow up like that too, man. And then I also leave you my number, because you're gonna have to do some research. We have to go to the law library and look up some shit, municipal codes in Hawthorne.
Great, thank you, Matt. I saw Tommy was on Stack too.
Hey, so I'm in Hollywood. I just wanted to add, at these sweeps, a lot of times, they'll try to get, the cops will try to get like consensual, like consent from you to move from the area. For example, one thing that they'll do, they'll say, like if I'm out there talking to people right before a sweep, they'll say, hey, we're gonna do a sweep in this area and we need you to move over there. to get me to stop from talking to people. And at that point, I'll say like, well, the sweep hasn't started yet, so I'm going to stay right here. You know, if I had gone and left, that would have been technically consent. And so a lot of times it's not entirely clear if it's like an order or demand or not. So what I'll do is I'll ask, what are you going to do if I don't? Like the cops will say like, can you go over there, please? And they use the word can. It's not an order. So like I'll say like, well, what are you going to do if I don't? And they'll say, oh, they'll just ramble about something. But in Hollywood, during the sweeps, the first thing sanitation will do is they'll come and they'll set up the tape. And even though there's like maybe 3 or 4 tents inside the tape. So at that point, we'll cross the tape. We'll go talk to the people inside. We'll help them move their things. And there's no problem. If we had simply remained behind the tape, you know, and not crossed the magic tape, then those tents would have been lost. But because we're willing to take that step, you know, if there's any pushback from sanitation or cops saying like, hey, please go behind the tape, like at that point, you know, I would negotiate and say like, hey, like we just want to move the stuff. Can we please move the stuff? That kind of stuff. So that's what it's like in Hollywood. We cross the tape until they tell us not to, then we negotiate.
So I mean, it's cool that you know, cops out there in Hollywood, you know, something that ain't tripping like that. Because I mean, sometimes when you cross the tape, you get arrested, or they tell you, "Nah, don't cross the tape," or they most definitely don't want you to take nothing on the other side of the tape, because that's the shit that they already identified to dispose of, to throw away, right? And then also it sounds like, you know, if it's not clear, you know what I'm saying, about what they expecting people to do. So if you got to ask them questions about, hey man, they ask you like, hey man, can you go over here, or can you go over there, or can you do that? So that means they haven't really specified, you know what I'm saying, what they want people to do. You know what I'm saying? So they need to be more clear about, you know what I'm saying, is this a cleanup? You know what I'm saying? Is we have to move? Is mandatory? You know what I'm saying? You know, what's going on, right? So it's that part too, that they not, you know, putting up the right signs and letting people know, you know what I'm saying, what the cleanup is or what's going on. So any more questions?
Cool. Yeah. I see Jamie had a question. Jamie Penn, still with us? Unmute yourself, maybe. So, all right. So I see Carla also is on set. Carla? Can folks unmute themselves? Is there an issue here with that? I'll make sure. Looks like you can. Jamie, Carla, had questions?
So why those people was waiting to get on? I just want to.
Jamie asked about, sorry, park rangers. Tips for dealing with park rangers. I guess do you want to answer that, or I can answer?
Yeah, because talk about Echo Park.
Quite a bit of experience with park rangers in Echo Park who have been absent since the pandemic. So park rangers, FYI, they're police officers.
Yeah.
They're police officers. They just don't have guns.
Yeah.
And they've been trying to get guns. Joe Buscaino put forward a motion. It was around when we were organizing at Echo Park Lake. It was very public that that motion, not coincidentally, came forward. Probably via Bitch O'Farrell asking Buscaino to do that. Park rangers are bad, at least the ones I've dealt with. Even worse than, at least in Echo Park, than the cops. Even more dehumanizing and using even worse language I've ever seen than the cops around there were. But they also are there present for sweeps. There's a whole municipal code called 6344 you can all look up that is basically the parks law. It's huge. It's like everything: no camping, no smoking, no this. The park rangers decided last year, when they were similar to, as Dogon talked about in Skid Row, this big history, when they realized that the folks at Echo Park Lake were not willing to just leave the park. They weren't scared of them threatening them to leave. They said, well, let's hit them with quality of life stuff. Let's try and arrest them for smoking in the park. Let's try and put them in jail and scare them by putting them in cages for doing minor offenses. Whereas park goers, you know, on the other side of the lake, the white park goers drinking rosé aren't getting hit up by the cops, but one of them smokes a little pot and suddenly they're surrounded by park ranger vehicles and LAPD. So they're bad. I don't really have any other tips aside from it's the same stuff. You know, the same things we talked about. Engaging with police, go for park rangers. They just don't have guns. And I believe in the nighttime hours also, this is the thing, parks, I think there's a thing with hours, like after a certain time when parks are closed, park rangers don't show up to parks if, for whatever reason, it's LAPD after that, I believe. I could be wrong though. But check out 6344. It's the LA Municipal Code around parks.
And I know they also come with a lot of cleanup material. They got a lot of throw up the shit that they take people's property with, throw stuff away. I know at the Lamert Park, they showed up with all kind of like dump trucks and all that kind of stuff. You know, so they looking for more than just Yogi in a picnic basket. You know, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's right. So some more questions. Carla and then Holly. Carla? Can you hear me now? Yeah, can hear you.
Okay, cool. So yeah, just like a little report from the Valley and then some questions for how to deal with, we've just, once the tape goes up, and they put the tape up before the enforcement even begins at 7 a.m. The tape is up by 6:35 a.m. Our zone is so large, it's 3-mile radius. We don't know where they're going to show. So it's kind of just like following their tail and trying to help people out, but they are definitely punishing anyone for helping people trying to remove things, even if they're behind the tape and like trying to pass things over the tape. They threaten to arrest everybody for doing that. So I don't know, like if there's any tips on how to push back on that. They're just really like they're just very quick to say, you know, we'll arrest you for doing that, which is what we saw today. But if there are good questions, I guess, or like ways to push back on that, because we're just trying to help people from losing all their stuff. And every week people are losing so many things. And on the same street where Garcia versus the city, you know, was started, like people are losing their bulky items like every week. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around like, how do we, you know, is the goal compliance and having them follow the law, or like non-compliance, and like getting people their belongings, showing we're not afraid, and how do we fight back against this? So I don't know, big question, but that's where we're stuck here in the Valley. We're struggling with what are best strategies and practices for just how to support people during the sweeps.
So most definitely, we talked about some of the things that's going on in the Valley is most definitely some of the same things that was happening right here on Skid Row when they first launched the Safer Cities Initiative, right? And so, I mean, the police disciplining people, you know, for helping out folks and stuff like that. It's kind of like way out too far, right? So most definitely we want to document that, right? And so another thing is just identifying what cops are doing what, right? And then, I mean, so I know we had first year of SCI, we used to go to the police station, right? And we used to talk to the facility captain, right? And we used to let the captain know that we was a community watch team and what our position was on the block, right? And that we wasn't gonna be threatened, right? And that and we wasn't gonna leave. That we was gonna be here, right? And we was gonna enforce our rights, right? And that we respected. We want to be respected, right? And so for the most part, you know, we pretty much gained some respect when we did that. The cops kind of bagged up a little bit. And so, I mean, that's one thing you could do. You could potentially, you know, so first of all, document what's going on and who's doing it, especially the cops. Like get them on film threatening people, or getting them on tape where they already threatened people, or get some declarations, or either you could write a couple of complaint forms, right? And then most definitely, if we have to, I could go there with you, and we could go to the police station. And we could talk to the facility captain and let the captain know what our position is. So this is another reason why, right, that t-shirts and uniformity is important. Because when the cops just see you on the block and they just see you with regular, like a t-shirt or something like that on, they think, oh, he's just a vigilante, You just some neighbor that's coming out the house to feel sorry for other people that's trying to help them out. Like they don't know that you from an organized front. You know, a lot of police don't know that. They don't know that you part of a street watch team, or you a member of DSA, or you part of cop watch, and you out here doing this and doing that. But you working with a team of people, you know, they don't know that. And so that's what sometimes, you know, it's the benefits of having a t-shirt on, you know, and be a part of a crew. Is that they know that you just what you're here for and why you're here. All right. And so it will eliminate a lot of that as well. And so moving forward, I would say document the cops, the dirty cops that's threatening people. Most definitely start putting some paperwork in them. Most definitely, you could cop a meeting with the facility captain, let them know what's going on, right? And then let them know you ain't gonna be threatening. Y'all can continue to be out there. And then moving forward, we talked about getting some t-shirts. And we're talking about depth of this training, and then maybe like a couple of follow-up trainings that we're gonna have some t-shirts for people. And so Jeb is in the process of having some t-shirts made, and we want people to have a input on what that t-shirts will look like, right? And citywide, because that's one of the next steps. And the reason why we had this training is because we want to get everybody on the same page in all 15 districts. The city is I mean, it's a city that's divided by 15, that's promoted by 1. That's the mayor. But every council member get to pretty much do what he want to do or she want to do when it comes to the homeless crisis, right? So we got to have a representation that's reflective of all 15 districts, right? And we got to be on the same page together, right? We got to fight together, right? And so that was the purpose of this, reuniting and starting that bond to where we can move forward from this day on and start working together as one unit. And so, so that's what the goal is. And then when there's issues like what you got, caller, and a receiver, and what like the brother got in Hawthorne, you know what I'm saying? That's when the freedom rider is gonna come in. It's gonna take us, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we're gonna have to all pull together and go into one district and do some action, some protests and shit like that. So if talking to these fools don't work next time, then we show up on the block. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we show up deep. We do an action on the block. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then they'll come and we'll let them know why we're here, what's going on. That's right. So that's what some of the next steps is.
Yeah, and just to clarify about the t-shirts, someone messaged me offering to make a bunch of Street Watch t-shirts potentially. Obviously, that's something to discuss as a group, like Dogan said. What color? What's the logo? What does it say on it? So that's something to be discussed as a group. But someone reached out about printing t-shirts for us. So that's pretty cool. We can have that discussion off after this call. I think that's been something we've debated for a while in Street Watch, is whether to have t-shirts or not. And, you know, what if you're alone? Is it you're just a lone Street Watch person? Are you exposed then? You know, some people are worried. But, you know, it's my opinion that I agree with you, Dogan, that we need to show out there who we are. We need to be visible.
It's more pros than cons.
But we can also, continue having that discussion about what those shirts would look like. I forget. Someone else had a question. I think it was Holly. Before we forget, is it Holly B?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you so much for doing this. I guess this might be like kind of a confusing question, but I just wanted to get your opinion because I've just noticed something odd, like in downtown recently, monitoring sweeps around like the Civic Center and El Pueblo. Like the police and sanitation have been super welcoming almost. Like they ask us to come in and help move people's things, and then they thank us for doing so. So they like actively invite us over the tape. And then are like, oh, thank you so much for being here. Like, really appreciate your help. Like, you make this so much easier. And, like, of course, I want to help people move their things, but I also don't want to feel like I'm aiding the police or sanitation in any way. And so it's just, like, a really conflicting feeling when that happens. So I just wanted to hear, like, if you had any opinions onto why that is happening, because it just seems odd to me.
So I got opinions. I got two opinions. So one, first of all, we need to document that who's doing it, because most definitely, as we could see, is different from what's going on in Reseda Valley, right? Well, we just heard Clara saying that they telling people to move away and that they're going to arrest you. So it's a total opposite, right? Of what you're getting in El Pueblo. They telling people to come over here and help out. And so that's some of the conflict, and that's some of the things that we could talk about and push against LAPD when we talk about, them not messing with people. Then another thing is too, I'll give you an example. So some of the things that the sanitation do, you know, is a setup, right? And so, and what I mean by that is that, so for example, I know the older Hispanic woman that's over in El Pueblo, her name is Rosa. And so she has a lot of property, and I'm talking about a lot of property. And she had 3 tents worth of property, right? And I know the Street Watch team over there, they was, you know, they want to help her move the property at cleanup times, right? And so this one week, they had was helping her move. She had 3 tents, right? And the sanitation was standing there, and they was videoing, right? Street Watch, you know, as they go in this woman's tent and take out city street signs, bar stools, and all other kind of stuff that this woman walked around downtown and picked up. And, you know, obviously she's a herder, you know, but, you know, she just need somebody to have conversation, you know, about that. And, you know, just help her identify, you know, what is real property and what is not. And during these times when the city is especially, you know, having an eye on watching us on who got property and who don't got property and what they got, you know, it's time for us to make better choices and like let her know, hey, this ain't the time to do all that. Because clearly, you know, the sanitation stood there, and I was there for at least 40 minutes, right? But it took them 40 minutes to even clear out like 1 tent and a half. And he still had like another tent and a half worth of property. So while the sanitation is filming all this shit, where do you think this film is going to end up at? It's going to end up either in court, you know, them saying, okay, this is the reason why, you know, we got to do this and we got to do this, right? Or it's going to end up in their strategy room where they just, you know, using it internally to do something, but they're not videotaping shit for nothing. So they videotape that just to show, you know, you know, how much property people got and stuff like that. And sometimes they could use us to do that, right? Because they clearly just, you know, like videotape that whole incident. So we just got to be smarter on sometimes on how we deal with the sanitation. But we got to remember also that the sanitation is being watched. You know, it's like I was saying, they try to produce numbers showing that they worthy, that they need it. You know, talking about how many fish kits they passed out, how many tents they passed out, how much trash they picked up. You know what I mean? They're trying to show that they need it. You know what I mean? So we got to oppose that and show, you know what I mean? No. The stuff you're doing is something totally different. You know? We got to create the different narrative.
That's right. No, and it's fucked up. I mean, you know, in terms of them filming you all moving stuff, a lot of that's probably too them saying, look at this, they're allowing this hoarder to keep all their stuff, they're helping her keep, you know, because the whole point of special enforcement zones is to displace people, displace and erase unhoused folks for NIMBYs, right? And so they could say, look, we put a shelter there and the encampment's vanished. Well, the encampments got thrown in the garbage trucks and in cages, and, you know, human beings' lives were affected. And so we're there trying to mitigate that. But Tommy made a good point too, is like, gotta really be careful about how we come across. Like, we don't want to look like we're collaborating with sanitation and taking orders from them. They try and do that. I've seen them try and bark orders to people. Hey, excuse me, you over there, can you go do this? Or can you tell this person that? Can you go do my job for me, kind of thing? And can you, like, give them this 60-gallon bag? Fuck that. Like, no, don't do that. Don't ever, if they say give the 60-gallon bag to someone, unless the person wants it, unless they're just offering someone receptacles to gather their things. I mean, you listen to the houseless folks. That's who you listen to at those cleanups. Whatever they want to do is what, that's who we're working for at sweeps. Until we can stop sweeps from happening entirely. Did anyone else have any comments or questions?
I do. It's Lisa. Hi.
Lisa,
I had to jump out for a little bit in the middle. So where are we going to find a link to the recording so I can see what I missed?
Yeah, great question. I could send that out to everybody within the channels that I sent this meeting out for. So hopefully you'll see that, a recording of this, as well as this timeline behind you, Dogon. Is it okay if I take photos of that timeline and send it to everybody?
About the timeline too as well. If a couple of people want to help me work on this, I'm going to create a new one that really lays it out, because there's a lot missing. And there's a lot of stuff on here, like for the city, the stats and numbers and stuff like that happened during these years that didn't make it. It's cut. But I just did this off my mind, just for the purpose of just showing folks today, you know what I'm saying, the timeline and the criminalization the city has been doing. But this is very important, and it shows the fight, right? And it shows that these motherfuckers ain't got no motherfucking interest in trying to solve this crisis.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Lisa. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we don't even have Care and Care Plus, and what that means. I think there's some new folks maybe too who just, you know, maybe when you showed up to this work, you just assumed that sweeps have always been called Care or Care Plus, and that's not the case. It's, you know, as Dogon said, they always change their name and rebrand stuff, but Care and Care Plus, I just want to point out, is actually a result of our organizing, of LACAN's organizing of Services Not Sweeps pressure on the city. Before Care and Care Plus, it was called Clean Streets LA and Hope. Those teams had even more cops and were even worse. And we presented the city with a list of demands before eventually the lawsuit that we threatened them with was thrown down from legal aid. But the city freaked out and said, "Oh my God, give us your demands and we'll try and do this stuff for you." And you know, one of the things we asked was no cops at outreach at all, no cops doing any homeless outreach. And the mayor's office actually said, "Okay, we'll do that. We'll remove cops." And eventually, no, as you can see, they haven't removed cops. Sanitation says we won't work unless there's some kind of police enforcement. Nuri Martinez is pissed off that Care started as being too nice to homeless folks. We have to ramp up enforcement, throwing out people's shit. So we need cops. We need 5611 enforcement. But there is there is a progression. It's all been criminalization. It's all the same attempts by the city. But our work is effective, is what I'm trying to say. And if you go out and you see Care showers, those mobile showers that say Care on them by the city, that's a direct result of LACAN Services Not Sweeps pressure. That wasn't an idea the mayor came up with. That was because we pressured the city to give mobile showers, the very few that they have. And there's still a huge fight. I'm not trying to say that Care and Care Plus is a good thing, but it is a little better than it was before. The care teams that go out without any notice, they just do like spot cleaning around tents and stuff. Those used to be all LAPD led. Now those teams don't have cops with them. So that's a step. That's one, you know, positive thing out there recently we've seen. But it's just to point out how our work is affecting and pressuring the city over the years, and even in recent years with Street Watch. But yeah, I know we're way over time. And we want to keep this conversation going every week. There's Services Not Sweeps meetings every week, and as well as Dogon mentioned earlier, every Thursdays, is it 9 a.m.? The community watch trainings every Thursday, from 9 to 10 or 9 to 11? It's 2 hours? Yeah,
9 to 11.
9 to 11, cool.
9:30 to 11.
So those are going to be meetings we're going to send out to all y'all. You can check in, and again, Dogon said answer questions.
And a Civil Rights Committee meeting every Monday, find out what's going on citywide. We got report outs from districts all around the city. We got report outs from Stop LAPD Spying Coalition, what's going on. And then just locally, we talk about what's going on as well, along with the election and all that kind of shit, what's going on right now.
That's right. Anything else? Any other questions before we end this meeting officially? Yeah, right. So the Thursday meetings are going to be via Zoom. And so I'm going to send that out via email, and then to all the networks like Streetwatch Slack, Services Not Sweeps email, Streetwatch email. I'm assuming everyone here, because that's where we sent the info for this meeting out. We'll follow up with all that info for the Thursday meetings with Dogon, Services Not Sweeps. And yeah, just remember.
So yeah, we're going to get a list too, to have folks, you know, I want to see who's in what district, right? And so we're going to have some conversation around that as well. So that we can, you know, find out who's where, who's what, and who's need help, like Carla and folks like that from Hawthorne shit. So we're gonna make that list of who need what in your district. So if you need some type of assistance in your district on certain shit that's going on Street Watch, let us know so we can come support you. You know, we don't mind coming to join in a fight out there. You know, we come and do a couple cop watches and shit with you out there. You know, we go out there, cuss out the police with you and everything else. So, you know, invite us to the area. Let us know what's happening.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is a coalition, citywide coalition, right? As someone just mentioned, it's not just Street Watch and LACAN, it's K-Town for All.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Advanced Community Housing, it's DSA, No Olympics Ground Game LA. There's a lot of organizations putting in the work.
32 of us.
Yeah, that's right.
32 organizations. So we need to be reflective over there.
Right. All of us stand solidarity saying, Fuck
That's what we're
police.
trying to get rid of. And so this is this Chief Moore, and like his little note on him, he say, I work for the mayor, right? And the city council approves everything he do. Right? So, and that's what the police do. I mean, he work for the mayor. So all this shit, this timeline behind you, you know what I'm saying? The police did it, you know, and the mayor approved it. The mayor and your city council member approved it. So that's what the fight is, changing all this shit around and getting rid of this motherfucker.
Hell yeah. All right, y'all.
All right. All power to the people.
Power to the people. Talk to y'all soon.